specials? Taste the old-fashioned flavor at Yoder Meats in Yoder and 3 locations in
This is a Steckline Communications station, K273CX, FM 102.5, and AM 1480 KQAM, Wichita Proud. It's time for your latest news from the KQAM News Center. Brought to you by Phil's Coins, Kansas's largest coin dealer at 9344 West Central. Phil's Coins, buying, selling, and trading with honesty and integrity.
I'm Stephanie Austin. Wichita State University's Aviation Research Program has landed a $33 million contract for the Army's high-speed missile program. The Wichita Eagle reports that the 3-year contract calls for the National Institute of Aviation Research to make the missiles lighter and cheaper while improving performance. Wichita State was previously awarded a 3-year $23.5 million Air Force contract to develop technology for automated in-service inspection of military aircraft. 6 people suffered injuries yesterday in a crash involving a Wichita police officer on the city's southeast side. The accident happened around noon at Harry and George Washington Boulevard. Police at the scene said an eastbound minivan ran a red light and struck a northbound Wichita Police Department SUV. The officer was treated for a minor injury. 5 people between the ages of 31 and 58 in the minivan suffered minor injuries and were taken to a local hospital. Here's Doug Downs with the sports.
The All-Star Game in Major League Baseball happened last night, and for the 7th straight time, the American League won 4-3. Whit Merrifield for the Kansas City Royals did appear in 4 innings. He was 0 for 2 at the plate and had no putouts in center field. Former Kansas State forward Dean Wade has signed a 2-way contract with the Cleveland Cavaliers. The organization announced that yesterday. Wade, who has appeared in 2 different summer leagues for the Cavaliers so far, is one of only 2 players who can receive a 2-way contract at any given time. Wade will get the majority of his playing time with the G League for the Cavaliers. From the KGSO Sports Desk, I'm Doug Downs.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us if you want Viagra at the lowest prices. Never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-357-1583 today to save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 800-357-1583 to take your call now. Call 800-357-1583. That's 800-357-1583. Again, 800-357-1583.
At Walgreens, we know that your day doesn't stop for diabetes. So when you've got places to go and people to see, count on Walgreens every day to get expert diabetes advice 24/7. Find all major brands of testing supplies like Walgreens True Metrics in-store and online. And download tools to help you stay on track, like our 5-star mobile app with Pill Reminder. At Walgreens, we are your diabetes go-to. Stop by and talk to your pharmacist today. Walgreens, trusted since 1901.
The latest news from the Big Talker, KQAM.
A New York City ticker tape parade for the world champion U.S. women's national soccer team, delighting many of the young fans on hand.
I like how they're really good friends and they work together, and we're a good group, our soccer team, and I think we look up to them and want to be like them when we're older.
Major flooding in New Orleans today after severe weather moved into the city this morning, spawning tornado and flood warnings. Louisiana Governor John Bell Edwards.
We're asking everyone in the southern part of Louisiana, especially along the coast, to take this very seriously.
Several inches of rain has already fallen. The area could get a total of 12 inches of rainfall from the leading edge of a storm system that could become a hurricane. Chairman Jerome Powell says the Federal Reserve could lower interest rates soon in the wake of a weakening global economy and trade disputes. The Dow up about 60 points. I'm Mike Morse.
Market information, Mid-America Ag Network. Mixed numbers to our futures markets. A lot of activity, some back and forth action so far today on Wednesday. July corn down 2 1/4 at 429.5. September down 2 1/4 at 430. And a quarter. Soybeans are green. July beans up 4 1/2 at 887 1/4. August beans up 2 1/2 at 888. Soybean meal and soybean oil mostly lower. July Kansas City wheat up 3 1/2 at 444. September Kansas City wheat down 2 1/2 at 436 3/4. So mixed numbers in our grains and soybeans. Mixed numbers in the livestock complex, too. August live cattle down 75 at 107.37. October down 82 at 108.50. August feeders down 72 at 142.15. September feeders down 67 at 142.45. Hogs are up. July hogs currently up a nickel at 71.42, while August hogs are up $1.82 at 80.90. So nice moves for hogs. Cattle continue to struggle. Market updates, Mid-America Ag Network.
Your local weather on KQAM. Brought to you by Maximum Outdoor Equipment. All equipment outdoors, from lawnmowers to snowblowers. Just south of Kellogg on West Street and online at MaximumOutdoor.com.
Here's your latest forecast on the Big Talker KQAM for this morning. Mostly sunny and 92, 20% chance of showers and storms after lunch, partly cloudy and 68 for tonight. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and clear, 88 and 67. The extremes Friday, sunny and clear, 91 and 68. I'm Amp Harrell, and that's your latest forecast on Wichita's big station, the Big Talker, AM 1480 and 102.5 FM KQAM.
At 11:06, it's currently 76 degrees.
This is Dana Lash, and you're listening to your home for local conservative talk, the Big Talker, KQAM 1480 AM and 102.5 FM.
It's time for Reason.
That's the nature of the beast right now, so let's talk about conservatism, because we can win when we talk about the ideas. And people can't argue with it, because we win on platform when we actually argue the platform, rather than go into these rhetorical bumper sticker type arguments.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
It's been a long time coming. It's been a long time coming. The boys are back. The boys are back.
Yeah, buddy. Hey, welcome into the Voice of Reason. Boy, oh boy, it is halfway through the week. It's a Wednesday. Welcome in, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas, on the Big Talker, 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, KQAM. We are simulcasting all over social media today. Back at it now that we're in studio. Yesterday on the road, doing the thing out in Guyman, Oklahoma with our sister station, KGYN. Appreciate them hanging out with us yesterday. That was a lot of fun, being able to get down there, see some of the other stations, get out of town for just a little bit. Got out for a day, so that was kind of nice. But we're back in town. We're back at it here in the studio, and we're all over social media. Facebook Live, which a lot of people jumping on right now. Thank you for doing that. YouTube Live, go to youtube.com, find KQAM Radio, and you can subscribe, watch us live there as well. So, boy, oh boy, what a trip it was. It was kind of nice being able to drive and not have it be 100-plus degrees. It was overcast. We got a little sprinkle coming in yesterday morning as we were driving out, and then it wasn't too terribly hot out in Guyman, Oklahoma yesterday, so that was definitely a benefit. So it was an experience. It was fun to get out of the state for a little bit and see what's going on in OK, just south of the border from us here. Hey, welcome in, 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. If you want to join in, we have a big show coming up today, a lot of guests, or a couple of guests at least. It's going to be a great conversation. It's something you're not going to want to miss at all today. Coming up in the 12 o'clock hour, we have Judge Kevin Smith coming on the show. If you were at the Sedgwick County Republican meeting a few weeks ago, he had spoke about adoption and about foster care and about some of the issues that we can do to help children to where, they don't grow up in a bad situation and lead on to become incarcerated and do bad things in society. And as we try and promote the not abortion side and don't kill off the baby and actually allow people to have the right to life, we got to step up and actually do things in the next step, which is the foster care and adoption if many parents choose to go that route. And it's not obviously the children's fault. So we'll talk about some of that, some of the numbers. When he spoke at the County Republican meeting a few weeks ago, it blew my mind with some of the stats that he had. So we'll do that coming up in the second hour of the show. And, of course, in the third hour at 1 o'clock, we do have Sedgwick County Commissioner Jim Howell. It is a Wednesday. They have the county commission meeting now that they're back from the 4th of July holiday that was last week. So we have all that going on. I've started to realize something, and it's taken me a while. I'm always the optimist, right? You know this. I'm the eternal optimist. I always think that something is going to be better than what it sometimes is. I always think on the positive side. I always think that we can come out on the positive end for most of the time. But I've come to the realization that this world is crazy. It's nuts. And the country we live in right now is absolutely nuts.
I have a very difficult time understanding even some of the issues that we're having to address, because we live in a world today where many in the political world, and even somewhat on both sides of the aisle, but predominantly on the other side that I disagree with personally, they question things that don't even need to be questioned, and I don't understand why. They question basic norms of society. Well, why do we have that basic norm of society? Well, hopefully we do the things we do and we have tradition. You remember Fiddler on the Roof? Tradition. Remember Fiddler on the Roof? They talked about tradition and why we need tradition and why tradition is a good thing. I'm all about tradition. I love tradition. The reason that we do the things we do is because we've tried to reinvent the wheel 20 different times and we found out this is the best way to do things for most of the time. Now, obviously, with technology and with the way society goes, we can tweak things just a little bit. But come on. When we have issues like Twitter and what you can do on Twitter and how you can block things and who you can block things on Twitter, as a president of the United States, that's the news. That's the news. Donald Trump, according to the appeals courts, not allowed to block people on Twitter from criticizing what he's doing. Just think about this for a second. We spent taxpayer money for a judge, a court, to actually decide whether someone is allowed to block somebody on Twitter, a social media platform that has a private account. We actually paid taxpayer money for courts to decide whether someone's allowed to block or not block someone on a social media outlet. We've gone to that crazy in this world. We've gone to that level of lunacy. I don't know how much farther we can go. I don't know. That's kind of crazy. Then you have like temper tantrum throwing individuals in our government that really want to be in the limelight and really don't want to actually work, but want to be there for a publicity stunt. I have to say, I am thoroughly enjoying the craziness that's going on the other side of the aisle, and not just the craziness because I disagree with them, but the craziness because they are literally tearing themselves apart. And they do not know how to handle this. Remember, the Democrat Party overall, as the big umbrella of the Democrats, really for the longest time has had their marching orders. They get their talking points. They get their marching orders. They know what they have to say. They know what they want to believe. They know what they want to push to their voters, and they do it. And they go to, and there's very little disagreement. There's very little argument. There's very little difference in opinion. There's very little of it. Even on the debate stages with most candidates for the Democrats, I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that. Hey, I agree with you over there. I agree with you over there. I'm going to take it a little bit further. I'm going to take it a little bit different way, but we're doing it in the right direction. And let's remember, the real enemy are Republicans and Donald Trump. That's usually what we hear. That's usually what we hear from different candidates. But right now, we're in the middle of dividing and tearing each other apart, especially when it comes to the four rabble-rousers, is what some likes to say. That is, of course, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. That's Ilhan Omar. That's some of the other crazies that are in the House of Representatives. And Nancy Pelosi is not figuring out how to handle these children, because that's really what they are. They're really not there to do a lot of work. They're really not there to do a lot of business. They're there to be the publicity stunt, kind of be the cool kids that are hanging out, kind of like the high school kids, the really popular girls that are like, we're not going to go to class. We're going to like hang out and like chat and talk and create drama. That's really what we've done. We've taken high school drama into Washington, D.C. And I never thought that time would come. But we are officially here. And now there's the bickering between Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. And now, as Nancy Pelosi said, it's just and they're regarding to this $4.6 billion humanitarian bill for the immigration to help individuals down at the border because we've let too many in. Now we can't sustain them. And instead of saying close the door and not let anybody else in, we're going to say, well, no, we're going to spend $5 billion in order to create more humanitarian relief so that way we can take care of these individuals and just continue on with the issue. I mean, that's the appropriate way to handle things, as Washington, D.C. has proven over and over again. And the four Democrats that voted against it in the House of Representatives were the four rabble-rousers. Now, Nancy Pelosi came out and said all these people, quote, this is a quote from her, all these people that have their public whatever and their Twitter world, but they didn't have any following. They're four people, and that's how many votes they got. Zing! she's a little frustrated. What do you think? She can't hold on to her caucus. She can't hold on to the House of Representatives. There's a couple rabble-rousers in there. AOC did respond. It's like, it's not even the four of us. It's like these ones. And what the speaker said is just not true. It's just wrong. As progressives, it's okay not to vote for legislation just to make a point. Which, I don't know if you've noticed or not, but there's already been a little bit of the banging of the heads between AOC and Nancy Pelosi. AOC actually did an interview a couple of days ago on a podcast talking about how even she turned down a committee that Nancy Pelosi had offered her on climate change. Now, think about this. AOC, the one that's all about the climate change, we're going to do the Green New Deal. We're going to end flight travel. We're going to rebuild every building in the nation to make it environmentally sound. She was offered a committee position on a climate change committee, and this is what she said.
The last time I kind of spoke to her one-on-one was when she asked me to join the select committee on climate change.
What did she say?
I said no.
Why?
Because I had made very specific requests, which I thought were rather reasonable for the select committee on climate change. I asked that it have a mission to try to draft legislation by 2020 so that we essentially have a 2-year mission to put together, whether it's a Green New Deal or whether it's some sweeping climate change legislation, that the select committee have a legislative mission. I asked for it to have subpoena power, which most committees do. The last select committee had subpoena power, but now this one doesn't. And I asked for the members who sit on the select committee to not take any fossil fuel money. And none of those requests were accommodated, and so I didn't join the committee.
I love it. I absolutely love it. This is, like, I had requests, and this is what I wanted, and they didn't give it to me, so because I get everything I want. Does this not remind you of, like, walking through the candy store and the 8-year-old kid flails on the floor because they don't get exactly what they want? Does this remind you exactly of that? This is funny. This is really funny. And then she gets even angrier in a ha-ha kind of sarcastic sort of way that, well, they're not letting me be in the limelight because I'm not here to do work. I'm here to try and make statements and do like video feeds when I'm drinking wine and building chairs and when I'm talking about how bad the border is. I don't have time to be in the public anymore because I'm doing work.
I think that ultimately I'm fine with the decision, especially given the committee assignments that I was ultimately given, which were very intense and very rigorous. I was assigned to 2 of some of the busiest committees and 4 subcommittees. So my hands are full. And sometimes I wonder if they're trying to keep me busy.
Now time for the Crazy Cortez Corner.
I absolutely love it. Welcome in, 316-721-8255. I think it's hysterical. This is where we've come in politics today, and this goes on both sides of the aisle. I mean, they criticize Donald Trump for the tweets that he makes as well, and for the not so mature tweets that he does at times, criticizing other people and attacking other people, and he does that, and we know that, and that's where, like, yeah, you know what, lay off it, but that's Trump, and let Trump be Trump and do his thing. But when we've gotten to bickering in the Democrat side like this, at the state level, when you can't even get a committee that's bipartisan with Republicans and Democrats in our state legislature to figure out how to study high utility rates in the state of Kansas, when you have to worry about what a judge says about Twitter, you know crazy has hit the world of politics. And it's been there for a while, but I think it's hit a brand new low. Lots coming up on the show today. I want to get to as much of it as we can. We have some new candidates here in the state of Kansas that I want to talk about as we jump into election season 2020. We're still pending on a potential mayor's candidate coming on the show on Friday, and we're going to start booking mayor's candidates, city council, and school board candidates in the next few weeks, so stay tuned in for that. I'm looking forward to talking to them, as that's going to be a really, really, really big deal coming up. So if you're listening in this South Central Kansas vicinity, I know people we have listening all over the place as well, all over the country and the world, really, with social media and with what we're on Facebook and YouTube Live. But in the state of Kansas and South Central, if you're listening, this is going to be an important vote. As we have the next legislative session looking at education finance in the state, as we look at Supreme Court justices and the way that we nominate them in a process through a constitutional amendment, as we look at utility rates, as we look at many issues around the state, this is going to affect us right here. The mayor, the school board, the city council, this is where things happen. And they're nonpartisan, which means you don't get to just go in and see a Republican or a Democrat and vote based on the R and the D. You have to know the platform of the candidates, which makes it all that more important. So we're going to start talking to them, and we'll have all them on hopefully before the beginning of August when the primary actually hits. August 6th. Tuesday, August 6th is the primary for a lot of these seats and districts, so stay tuned in. More information to come on those. We'll take a break. When we come back, I want to shift gears away from AOC. I just found that comical. That was kind of funny. I enjoy that. We'll talk about some of the candidates here in Kansas, get your thoughts on some of the stuff we talked about yesterday, the illegalities, the unconstitutionalism, the potential treason and fraud that some politicians are doing at the border, trying to find the loopholes to allow illegal immigrants to come in and remain in the country when they were told to stay in Mexico. We'll talk about some of that and more here on a Wednesday on The Voice of Reason. Stay tuned.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier on the Big Talker, KQAM.
Robocall's new angles are bogus threats from some government agency like the IRS or Human Services. But finally, one major wireless carrier is turning on spam call blocking for everyone for free. Kim Commando with your Wednesday Consumer Tech Update. Get more know-how with my free tech newsletters delivered from me to your email daily. Sign up right now at commando.com. Here's a robocall making the rounds.
We just suspend your social security number because we found some suspicious activity.
Hopefully it's obvious that this scam wants your personal details so they can steal your money or your identity. Maybe the days of robocalls are coming to an end, though. AT&T is the first major carrier to announce that they're going to be blocking all spam calls by default. It'll roll out in a few months. T-Mobile and Verizon blocks calls already, but you have to make the change in your account settings or download an app. What's next? I'm betting that tech scams will surge, and then we'll have that to deal with. I'm Kim Commando. As a business owner, you make a million tough decisions every day. So here's the easiest one of the year. Dell's Black Friday in July is back and bigger than ever. Get no-brainer deals on the very latest computers with Intel Core processors and a huge selection of servers, electronics, and more, all with free shipping. To make your decision easier, Dell's Small Business Advisors can help you find just the right tech. Call 877-BUY-DELL or visit Dell.com/smallbusiness.
At Indeed, we believe a resume is a great way to see an overview of a candidate, but you're not hiring a resume, you're hiring a person. That's why Indeed offers tools that help bridge the gap between a candidate and the resume, like skill tests, which let you actually see a candidate's abilities in action to make sure they're a good fit for the job. See beyond the resume with Indeed. Experience Indeed for yourself today and get a free sponsored job upgrade on your first posting at Indeed.com/promo. Terms and conditions apply.
The Democrats have been the only ones to present a deal to him. So he took it because he doesn't have another option. Is it his fault? Well, he probably shouldn't have taken it. But he's not ideologically driven to say that's wrong. He's saying, I'm a deal maker. That's the deal that I got. I can't make another deal right now. There's no other options. That's what I have to take. So can you really fault him on that? The Republicans are failing us.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier, 11 to 2, here on the Big Talker, KQAM.
You're busy working. Now get busy saving. It's easy at your authorized Bobcat dealer, White Star Machinery. For a limited time, we're offering cashback rebates up to $13,000 on new Bobcat excavators. Or take advantage of 0% financing for 48 months with approved credit. And we'll give you up to $8,000 back. Don't miss these limited time offers with cashback and 0% financing. Stop by your local White Star or call 866-587-7442 today.
White Star, get the job done.
This moment of peacefulness is brought to you by Rusty Eck Ford.
Price sells cars at Rusty Eck Ford. Now at Rusty Eck, you can get a discount of $2,000 off every 4450 in stock, and you keep the rebates up to over $6,200. That's over $8,200 in discounts and rebates. Plus, we'll throw in a new Green Mountain Grill with built-in Wi-Fi when you buy.
Save thousands on an F-150 and get a Green Mountain Grill?
You bet. Your choice of a Davy Crockett smoker or a Daniel Boone smoker for your summer fun.
And don't forget about our award-winning service.
See what's going on at rustyeckford.com.
All rebates to dealer cannot be combined, plus tax and fees. Discounts from MSRP offer expires 7/30/19.
Education and entertainment. This is The Big Talker, 1480 AM and 102.5 FM, KQAM.
I have a new theory when it comes real quickly to AOC and Nancy Pelosi. No one crosses Nancy Pelosi. If you remember, there was an interview a couple of months ago from, I think, the granddaughter of Nancy Pelosi, and she had mentioned, and I don't even remember what news source this was, but there was an interview with her, and she had mentioned something about how you don't cross Nancy Pelosi, and even in the family, like, you don't cross her, you don't say anything bad, because she's vindictive, but not in the sense of, like, showing you. She just does stuff just to spite you. And she'll go out of her way to attack you, and you won't even know it's coming. She bites. She's got that bark, not physically, obviously, but she goes after you if you do not do what she says. She's kind of like John McCain, but in drag. And you don't want to cross Nancy Pelosi. So I can only imagine when Nancy Pelosi blows off these 4 elected officials in Congress, these 4 women that are kind of doing their own thing as the quote-unquote progressive activists that are really cute because they feel like they get to do whatever they want to and no one gets to challenge them in that sense because, well, by golly, we're here for our own agenda and who cares what the rest of the party's doing to work with them. We don't need to do that stuff. When they cross Nancy Pelosi, she hasn't really done a whole lot yet because she's tried to play nice. My theory is that Nancy Pelosi will force the Democrats to put up a primary challenger against AOC in the next election. I don't know if that would happen or not. I would think so. With how vindictive Nancy Pelosi is, it's a safe Democrat district. It's not like a Republican's actually going to win it. It's a deep blue district. So all they have to do is find a different candidate to beat her. And with how few votes that AOC actually got in the election, because very few people actually turned out, they could put up a primary challenger, not sink a whole lot of money into it, but get some more establishment type that's a little more friendly to the party. And then she can actually defeat AOC and get her out of there. And I know that she's got this national quote-unquote movement that she's working with Bernie Sanders and all this other stuff, but with the vindictiveness that Nancy Pelosi has, where even her granddaughter is like, yeah, don't cross her. Don't cross her. We weren't even allowed to cross her as a family member. And we've heard the stories of what she does to other elected officials who are her political opponents. And within her own party and the frustration that she's had to deal with, it really is. I mean, it sounds like John McCain. You see Lindsey Graham now? You see how crazy Lindsey Graham is, like, on a good level? He's actually been doing decent things now. He's actually more conservative. He actually came out within, like, weeks after John McCain passing of siding with President Donald Trump on many issues. He didn't say a single word of any of that when John McCain was still alive. Even when John McCain was in Arizona, he didn't say any of that because those two are BFF. Those two are friends. And John McCain, he was so angry and bitter, and he was the one that called Donald Trump a Nazi and called him Hitler and all this other garbage that Lindsey Graham stayed out of it. He's like, you're my friend, buddy. I'm not going to say anything. But as soon as he was gone, like weeks, he came out and he started defending Kavanaugh, and he started saying we need to support Donald Trump, and he's supporting the immigration issues that Trump's doing. And he came out and he's like, yeah, I'm all for Trump, baby. And all of us who've been criticizing Lindsey Graham forever are like, that's a little strange. So Lindsey Graham's come out because the angry person, the angry, bitter person of John McCain is gone. Nancy Pelosi is the John McCain, but in drag. And it kind of looks like it, too. Just saying. But Nancy Pelosi, very bitter, very angry. You do not cross her. And these 4 individuals I almost see in a deep blue, secure Democrat district. They don't want to sink a whole lot of resources into it because they're looking to try and preserve many of the swing seats that they won against the Republicans in the last election. And they're trying to focus on those. But it would not surprise me if last minute a new Democrat jumped in and by default, in the shadows, in the dark, where it's not openly and publicly announced, there are a lot of establishment Democrats that tried to hype up a new candidate to get rid of AOC and some of those other rabble-rousers that are causing issues. Because Nancy Pelosi, do not cross her. The way that AOC called her out, saying that she's puzzling and turning down a committee, Eek! That hurts a little bit for her. We'll take a bottom of the hour break, come back here. We'll shift gears to a statewide issues. We got some candidates. We have some issues going on. We have some breaking news in the state as well. It's going to be a fun show today. Don't miss any of it here on The Voice of Reason on KQAM.
Now back to the KQAM News Desk.
70.
Many New Orleans streets flooded today with several inches of rain, and meteorologist Chad Myers is watching what could be the first hurricane of the season that could hit New Orleans this weekend.
This storm is in very warm water, and Katrina rapidly intensified into something that wasn't even forecast to be like Katrina in 24 hours. So this is not out of the question that this could be a much bigger storm than just a Category 1.
A federal appeals court has struck down a lawsuit filed by D.C. and Maryland, charging the president with violating the Emoluments Clause of the Constitution. The court ruled the plaintiffs lack standing. Britain's ambassador to the United States has resigned just days after diplomatic cables criticizing President Trump caused embarrassment. Presidents threatening to impose even tougher sanctions after Iran announced it had stepped up its nuclear program in recent weeks. On Wall Street, the Dow is up about 70 points. I'm Mike Moss.
At Walgreens, we know that your day doesn't stop for diabetes. So when you've got places to go and people to see, count on Walgreens every day to get expert diabetes advice 24/7. Find all major brands of testing supplies like Walgreens True Metrics in-store and online. And download tools to help you stay on track, like our 5-star mobile app with Pill Reminder. At Walgreens, we are your diabetes go-to. Stop by and talk to your pharmacist today. Walgreens, trusted since 1901.
You can always count on Miller High Life, the champagne of beers. Always crisp, always easy drinking, always just right. The perfect balance of flavor and refreshment since 1903. Welcome to the High Life. ...2019 Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Celebrate responsibly.
Mid-America Network News. A Kansas Supreme Court justice whose votes in death penalty cases made him a political target plans to retire from the bench September 8th. The decision announced today by Justice Lee Johnson will give Democratic Governor Laura Kelly her first appointment to the 7-member High Court. It will not require Kansas Senate confirmation. Developers are proposing a $500 million arts and entertainment campus in the Kansas City area with housing for students and seniors. The Kansas City Star reports that the Bonner Springs City Council this week approved a zoning change that developers needed to move ahead with a 180-acre project. It would be near NASCAR's Kansas Speedway at Interstate 70 and 435. The campus would include a college to train people to work in film and television production and engineering. Plans also call for an independent living, assisted living, and a memory care facility for seniors. I'm Stephanie Austin.
April showers, May showers.
Any showers can wreak havoc on your pickup truck's cargo.
Show your truck some love with Continental Truck Accessories and Tough Truck Bag.
When it's not in use, it folds up for storage under or behind the seat.
When you need it, it's ready in minutes. And it's a waterproof, dirt-proof pickup bed storage option.
You can also protect your truck bed valuables with X-Stang Solid Fold
and Encore by X-Stang.
Continental Truck Accessories. We have you covered. 6701 South Broadway.
Online at ContinentalTruckAccessories.com. Men and women, the sun does not discriminate, and that's why Hatman Jacks has sun protection for everybody. Without sun protection, you put your skin at risk, whether it's mowing, at the pool, golf, working in the garden, or fishing. Hatman Jacks reminds you when it comes to any outdoor activity, there's a hat for that, whether it's a Tilly, a garden straw, fishing hats, and for summer style, dress it up with a straw fedora. Take care with sun protection from Hatman Jacks at the Clock Tower in Delano.
It's Mary from Wildwood Cellars. We've won over 600 awards and titles for our wines, but the most important thing is we make wines that taste good. With over 40 to choose from, dries to sweets, meads made with honey, sangrias, and even a jalapeno wine, you'll find the wines you love at Wildwood Cellars, where you can try before you buy. The tastings are free at the northeast corner of Maple and Ridge Road in Wichita, or the main winery right next to the Mulvane Turnpike exit, or online at wildwoodcellars.com.
Here's your latest forecast on the Big Talker KQAM for this morning. Mostly sunny and 92, 20% chance of showers and storms after lunch, partly cloudy and 68 for tonight. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and clear, 88 and 67 the extremes. Friday, sunny and clear, 91 and 68. I'm Amp Harrell, and that's your latest forecast on Wichita's big station, the Big Talker, AM 1480 and 102.5 FM KQAM.
At 11:35, it's currently 80 degrees.
It's your boy Joe Pags, live after Dave Ramsey, right here on the Big Talker, KQAM.
Andy doesn't tolerate name-calling.
You could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables.
But if you want to try, call the show at 316-721-8255 right now. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Hey, welcome into the Voice of Reason, 36 minutes past the hour. So I am in contact right now with a legislator. Breaking news that's happening as we talk. And I think we're going to get a phone call in here from House Majority Leader Dan Hawkins as some big news is breaking. I love it. I love it. See, this is why live radio is awesome and why we can, do the thing unlike anybody else, because we can talk about the issues as they happen. So here's the official news. As you know, there's been an issue going on in the state with Governor Laura Kelly that has tried to essentially violate state law by wanting to extend food stamps by the time they're not allowed to and go extended further and have them longer and have more and whatever. And she's trying to break the 2015 HOPE Act that has been in legislation since 2015. Now, she has been in opposition to that law since it was actually happening. But the breaking news that was hand-delivered to Governor Laura Kelly in her hands, in her office today, was a letter from Attorney General Derek Schmidt, and we're going to get House Majority Leader Dan Hawkins on the line here in just a second to fill us in here. But the hand-delivered letter from Attorney General Derek Schmidt to Governor Laura Kelly pretty much says, ain't allowed to do those extensions that violate state law. You're not in the legislature anymore. You cannot sign an executive order to do this. And if you do not cease and desist this, we will send you to court. Here's what it has to say. The pertinent facts are these. In 2015, the legislature adopted and the governor signed into law HB 2258, which enacts the HOPE Act for Kansas. The legislation contains the following provision. And this is the quote from the legislation. Quote, the Secretary for Children and Families is prohibited, and that's emboldened, from requesting or implementing a waiver or program from the U.S. Department of Agriculture for the time-limited assistance provisions for able-bodied adults age 18 through 49 without dependents in a household under the food assistance program. The time on food assistance for able-bodied adults age 18 to 49 without dependents in the household, in bold, shall be limited to 3 months in a 36-month period if such adults are not meeting requirements for imposing by the U.S. U.S. Department of Agriculture that they must work for at least 20 hours a week or participate in a federally approved work program or its equivalent. So right there, you're not allowed to extend it. It is prohibited to ask for waivers, and it shall be limited to 3 months in a 36-month period. Now, again, we've talked about the economy and how well it's doing and why we want to expand social programs like this when actually people are not on them as much and when the economy is doing well. And the fact that it specifically mentions that in the legislation and the governor's side decided to do an executive order to extend them and to break that without legislative approval is violating the law. And in the continued letter here from Attorney General Derek Schmidt, it says that your longstanding opposition to the public policy enacted through this provision is well known. As a member of the Kansas Senate, you led an effort during the floor debate to strike this provision from the bill. And he shows the reference on there. At this time, it is announced policy. DCF failed even to acknowledge the state law statutory prohibition, much less explain how much policy complies with it. But the specific Kansas policy in the 2015 HOPE Act enacted by legislature and signed into law by the governor is clear. Able-bodied adults without children and other dependents who are capable of working should do so and not be provided extended publicly funded food assistance if they are not working. The DCF legal arguments to the extent are persuasive at all. At most amount to the declaration that DCF lawyers think that they have discovered a legal loophole that allows the agency to evade the clear public policy reflected into state law. Of course, Governor, you are free to propose changes to state law and work to persuade the legislature to replace the statutory prohibition with public policy you prefer. So, too is Secretary of Children and Families. But unless and until changed, we must give effect to the law that is currently on the books. For all these reasons, I respectfully request that you review policy adopted by your agency and have it withdrawn as it conflicts with either the letter of the state law in spirit or both. Please be advised that in this event, I do not receive confirmation that the policy is withdrawn by Friday, July 12th. I am prepared to seek a judicial determination whether the policy violates state law. Meaning, if you don't comply within 2 days, we're sending you to court, and we're going to take you to court, baby. And that's the way it's done. Boom! Mic drop, lay down the hammer. This is the breaking news going on in Kansas. I absolutely love it. Hat tip to Derek Schmidt, Attorney General, for hand-delivering that one. And one of the guys who started this, who started the claim, if you remember, the media went nuts when this guy actually tried to call out Governor Laura Kelly because of this, and then they kind of backhandedly agreed with him that this shouldn't be done, as he's been fighting this from the very get-go. House Majority Leader Dan Hawkins, I think, is on the line with us here. Dan, how are you, my friend?
I am very good, and I'm fantastic today, Andy. That was some great news. When I actually saw it come across one of those blog publications that a letter had been delivered to the governor, and I was like, wow, what a great day, because we've been fighting this for quite a while. Actually, if you remember, I started working on this clear back in May when they put out their memo, and we noticed that it did violate the law. We studied it, and I called out the governor, asked her to cease and desist at that time, and of course they just kind of thumbed their nose at me and said, no, we believe we're in good standing on this issue, so we're going to continue. Well, that policy goes into effect that they're making July 1, so it just started, and so time was of the essence. I've been working with the AG ever since. She just basically, the governor just said, we're going to continue, and to his credit, he has to do a lot of due diligence. He has to study the issue. I thought since it had taken a while that maybe we were going to have a good outcome, and of course today proved that the AG agrees with me and has basically put the governor on notice, either cease and desist or we're going to go to judicial review and see what the judges say. So
yeah, this is a circle.
That was pretty good news.
I mean, the fact that he quoted it right there in there, and he made it bold. It is prohibited from requesting a waiver or program from the Department of Agriculture, and it shall be limited to 3 months and 3 months in a 36-month period. I mean, that's very clear. I don't know how the governor can say, well, those are just guidelines and we're going to extend it anyways. I mean, when a law like this is passed by the legislature, signed by the governor, you can't just years later sign an executive order and be like, yeah, I'm going to do what I want to. I mean, that to me, that is a blatant, bold violation of the law, is it not?
Well, it is, but if you go back to her State of the State address back in January, it was either during the State of the State or right after the State of the State, she was quoted in the press as saying that she would do everything she could to skirt any work requirements. She hates work requirements, period. So actually during our research that we did leading up to this point, actually before I went to the AG and actually presented my case to the AG, we had done a lot of research, and we found where she actually, on the floor of the Senate, had brought an amendment to strike that specific language because she knew what it was going to do. She knew it would be impossible, and that's what it was meant for.
Sure.
We believe as Republicans that in a hand up, not a handout, that we want people to better themselves. That we don't want people. I can't imagine anybody wanting to live off of what the government gives us, and gives people in that situation. It's very minimal. It's not even a survival.
Sure.
It's basically just a small amount. So we want people to get back to work. We want them to be self-supportive. We want them to have value in themselves. So that's the purpose of the HOPE Act. The HOPE Act was named the HOPE Act because we want people to have hope in their future. And And so we made it such that future governments future governors or future administrations could not violate that principle of helping people get back to work and being successful in their lives, because that's the purpose of that. She doesn't like that. She wants to fight it to the bitter end. So we're willing to do that. We're willing to go and keep pressing the issue, and I think that we're standing in pretty good ground right now.
Well, you really are. You're absolutely right. I mean, you guys had the foresight, which doesn't happen very often in government, but you had the foresight back then to say, you know what, yeah, there may be other governmental entities that may try and repeal this or change it, and we're going to make it very clear that this is what's going to happen. And the fact that she has a long-standing vendetta against this and tried to fight it back when the legislation was being done, I mean, it's kind of a personal thing for her. And the fact, here's the question. If this go, I don't know. First off, do you think she's going to abide by this, or do you think she's going to try and take it to court to fight?
You know, that'll be interesting, and we can't really predict that. I think that she is probably weighing her options right now, and her options are starting to diminish. I mean, I guarantee you, the Attorney General would not take the case if he didn't think that there was a very legitimate case here that can be defended in court. So I think that has to send a message, and that was the purpose, I'm sure. And the AG didn't call me and tell me what he was going to do, so I don't have any inside knowledge. But I believe, knowing him, that he's very careful. He's very detail-oriented. He looks at the whole case. He decided it had merit, and he's basically given her a chance this week to cease and desist, to stop what she's doing. Mm-hmm. And if she chooses not, then he has laid out his position that he will go before the court and seek judicial review of this and let the courts decide the merit of the case. And I think the merit of the case will be borne out really quick. So it'll be interesting. I'm waiting for Friday. I can't wait to see what happens for Friday.
I can't wait either. And you know what's really exciting about this case is that this is a perfect example of what a checks and balance system of governance actually does. I mean, we have a piece of legislation that had all three branches of government in there when it was passed constitutionally by the courts, it was passed by the legislature, signed by the governor, and now we have a testing of that theory by a governor wanting to use an executive order to override that and to abuse it. We have another branch that's saying, wait a second, you're not allowed to do that, and then we're going to check the constitutionality. I mean, from a dork like me who likes to do the checks and balance system here, this is a beautiful process to show how it's all going to play out.
It is. It truly is. And this will kind of set the stage. I think this will set the stage for the future. You know, mm-hmm. if you're the governor and you can get by with something, you're going to keep getting by with it until somebody says you can't any longer.
Sure.
So I really look at this as this is one of those things that we have to go through, kind of set those boundaries so she understands that she just can't use her executive power to do anything she wants, and specifically, she can't use it to sidestep current statute. That's just a no-no. So,
sure.
If you don't like it, go about changing it. But
exactly.
But you can't just use your executive power to skirt it.
No, she should be coming to you guys and saying, "Hey, legislature, it's time to It's time to update this. You know, it's been too long. The economy's still struggling in Kansas. Whatever argument we want to use, you know, it's still tough here. We haven't been able to lower taxes yet. We need to help some people out a little bit more. Can we try to adjust this and amend it and make it a little bit longer if we need to do so for certain groups? And that would be the appropriate way to do this." Here's the other question, the media's response to this. I mean, they gave you kind of a backhanded support back a few weeks ago saying, well, he's right because the governor shouldn't use that kind of power, even though we don't like the legislation because it's evil and it harms people because how dare they actually have to try and work or look for work for 20 hours a week. That's, I mean, horrible. They shouldn't have to be working that much sort of thing. What do you think the response is going to be from the media on this? Do you think that they're going to be angry at the AG, or are they going to, again, try and do a backhanded endorsement to try and say, wait, Governor, maybe you shouldn't have a loss like this on your record. Back off on this one.
No, I think you're exactly correct in that assumption. That the organization that did it was the Kansas City Star. It was actually the editorial board. Now, the editorial board is not exactly favorable to our side. They're actually they support the governor on pretty much everything. In this case, they understood. They understood exactly. They said, you know, we don't like the law. We hate the HOPE Act. We don't agree with the HOPE Act at all.
Sure.
So we do agree that it's statute, and we agree Madam Governor, you shouldn't be violating it. If you don't like it, go change the law, but don't violate the statute. You're violating the statute. So they supported my position, and I think they'll continue to. I thought it was interesting that the Kansas City Star would be the one that did it, not Wichita, which the Wichita Eagle hasn't weighed in at all.
Sure.
Well, that's okay. They're going to do what they're going to do, but I do think that the media, and especially the media that covers that, the state, I think they understand exactly what's going on.
Sure.
They don't necessarily support the HOPE Act, but they do support the fact that we do have a statute, we have a law.
Right.
If you don't agree with it, change it, but otherwise abide by it. She's not above the law, neither am I. We have to abide by the statute.
Got to do the thing. I love it. This is great news. It's going to be fun to watch, and as you mentioned, see what happens by Friday. Will the governor back off on this, or will she continue to pursue it? House Majority Leader Dan Hawkins, I appreciate you sending me this as it broke, and I appreciate you coming on short notice to talk about this. This is going to be really fun to watch over the next few days. We may get you back on early next week to kind of follow up on this.
Sure. Well, I had to. When I came across my phone, I go, "Wow, this is pretty cool." And so, luckily, technology allows us to just send that out there. So
hey, there it is. The beauty of live radio, my friend. We get to get this stuff out for everybody as soon as it comes out. So that's awesome. Dan Hawkins, House Majority Leader. We appreciate it, my friend. We'll talk again real soon.
Take care, Andy.
All right, you too. I appreciate it. This is awesome. I love it. Again, if you missed it, the Attorney General hand-delivering that letter to Governor Laura Kelly saying cease and desist on your extension of the food stamp program, extension that you want to do by Friday, or we go to court, baby. That's what it's all about. We'll take a break, wrap up hour number 1 here on The Voice of Reason. 9 minutes at the top of the hour. Stay here.
You're listening to The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Market information, Mid-America Ag Network. Kind of a busy morning so far here on a midweek Wednesday. Not a lot of movement, but a good deal of activity. July corn is down 2 1/4 at 429.5. September corn down 1/2 at 432. Later months are mostly lower. We are seeing some fractional green in some of the back months. July Kansas City wheat is up 3 1/2 at 444. September unchanged at 439.5. We're seeing mixed numbers in Chicago and Minneapolis as well. As far as the soybeans are concerned, they're in the green, not moving a lot, but to some pleasant gains. July soybeans 887, that's up 4 1/4. August beans now up 6 1/4 at 892 1/4. So maybe some better movement there. Similar gains in some of the later months. July soybean meal is up 80 cents at 308.70. August up $1 at 310.20. So positives there. Soy oil is mixed. July down 13 points at 27.75. August up 2 points at 28.03. So a little bit of uncertainty and some hesitancy as we roll in through the morning here on Wednesday with the grains and soybeans. Cattle having some issues today. August live cattle down 55 at 107.57. October down 70 at 108.60. Back months are all in the red. August feeder cattle down 20 at 142.67. September down 17 at 142.95. So not much positive to talk about when it comes to the cattle complex. Hogs, on the other hand, are doing nicely. July hogs up 7 at 71.45, but then things get really good. August hogs up 2.30 at 81.37, and some of the later months up by around that $2 mark as well. So hogs looking pretty good here so far on Wednesday. Cotton is up today. October cotton is 74 points higher currently at 63.77. December's up 75 at 64.03. Market update, Mid-America Ag Network.
Are you looking to conserve water and have a beautiful lawn? This summer, convert your lawn to a warm season turf grass such as barefoot buffalo grass or Monaco Bermuda grass. Once established, these drought-tolerant grasses provide a low-maintenance lawn and will save you time and money. Contact Starseed today to learn more about our 2019 lawn and turf varieties. Call 800-782-7311 or visit our website at gostarseed.com.
Combines are in the field, grain trucks are on the road, and Abilene Machine will help keep your combine running with quality ag replacement parts. Abilene Machine carries a full line of new, remanufactured, and recycled combine parts, chaffers, sieves, belts, augers, concaves, chains, and more. Call Abilene Machine at 1-800-255-0337 to get replacement parts for your ag equipment at prices that can't be beat. For 24-hour ordering, visit them online at AbileneMachine.com.
Join me, Brian Kilmeade, tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. right here on KQAM. Now back to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Minutes at the top of the hour, wrapping up hour number 1 here on The Voice of Reason on KQAM. It is a Wednesday, halfway through the week, and don't you love live radio? Being able to talk about these as it goes along, and let me tell you, no one's going to cover it like that. So, hey, as this continues on, I want to hear your up and down, your prediction, over or under on when Governor Kelly is going to actually rescind her executive order on the extension of the food stamps for DCF. That would be fascinating. I don't know. I don't know. Does she want a loss under her belt from saying she's going to fight it and then ends up getting beat in court? Or is she going to back off and make a statement saying, I totally disagree, I don't like it, but there's nothing I can really do about it right now, and I encourage the legislature to do their thing? I don't know. I almost wonder if she is going to fight this one. I mean, she made some interesting decisions when she vetoed, a line item vetoed some of the budget at the end of the session, and we ended up overriding some of those vetoes. And for a governor, I mean, the fact that it did take us till the end of the session, but at the end of the day, we did veto some of the things or override her veto that she had done on the budget, which we were just like, huh? Really? So she's made some interesting decisions already as governor. We'll see how far she wants to fight it and how much of a personal beef that she's got against some of that. Let's get into another Kansas. Here it is. Kansas Update. What do you say?
Today in Kansas.
All right, I'm ready. Yeah, buddy. All right, so there is some new interesting individuals that are choosing to announce their run for political office here in the state of Kansas. Abby Hodgson, she is the former speechwriter for Kathleen Sebelius when she was governor, and she has officially announced her Democrat announcement and running for the 2nd Congressional District against Congressman Steve Watkins, as she says that she's going to focus on, again, gender issues in children. And of course, going on the platform of the progressive Democrat of wanting the free health care and the expansion of Medicaid and the universal and whatever else they want. So she is on that progressive end of the aisle, obviously coming from Kathleen Sebelius, who crafted, by the way, Obamacare. Keep that in the back of your mind. So Abby has officially announced she's going to be running against Steve Watkins, making that race relatively interesting. Now, that was a big battle for Steve Watkins. And I was not sure how that was going to play out just because of the fact that he was a little unknown. He didn't have any political experience, and he fought really hard not only to get the primary election, but to get the general election as well. But kudos to him, and I think he's done a fantastic job in D.C. so far. So we need his support for Steve Watkins. Keep on rolling. We'll get him on the show again here real soon. But Abby Hodgson is officially announcing to run against him in that race. Then we see the headline from the Kansas City Star where I don't know why this is a big shock factor news that's happening with the media right now. If you actually pay attention to what she's been saying over the last few months, we knew that she was a potential candidate, and she's hinted at it. And when we had her on the show about 2-3 months ago, she hinted at potentially doing this, and we kind of had a feeling she would. But here's the headline from the Kansas City Star. Will Susan Wagle run for the U.S. Senate? Website reveals possible campaign. Wow. And they have the picture of the website. Create a Susan Wagle for Senate account or log in. We already knew she probably would. We didn't know for sure, but she had talked about almost the campaign strategy she was going to be taking when she came on the show like 3 months ago, which means we already had an idea. Most people knew she was a potential candidate, and now it sounds like she may be announcing here within the next week or so. So we'll stay tuned in. She may be joining the show next week again to talk about this a little bit more in depth, but the word has leaked. And after the announcement of Chris Kobach running for the U.S. Senate seat that he made just a couple of days ago, now Susan Wagle making it official, and the media losing their minds. Why? Because, well, she is the number one vendetta against Governor Laura Kelly, so therefore they don't like her very much. We'll talk about more of that coming up in hour number 3 as well. Hour 2 coming up. Bill O'Reilly update right at the top of the hour. More coming up here on The Voice of Reason. Stay tuned.
Learn how to protect you and your family from fraud at a free Better Business Bureau workshop sponsored by AARP featuring former FBI agent Jeff Lanza, July 18th at 2 p.m. at Wichita's Advanced Learning Library. This is not an official Wichita Public Library event. Call 877-926-8300 or go to aarp.org/KS to register. The AARP Fraud Watch Network can help keep you and your family safe from fraud and scams. Visit aarp.org/Fraud Watch Network for news and tips on how to spot common scams and report them in Kansas.
Autocraft is proud to call Wichita home for 40 years. We are local and family owned. We believe using locally owned businesses is important to maintaining a healthy community. Local faces being there for you long after the job is done. Autocraft uses local suppliers whenever possible. Eco-friendly products, giving back to local charities, putting that extra smile on someone's face. Autocraft invites you to join us to keep it local. So let's work together to grow a strong and healthy community. Be sure to visit us at autocraftinc.com.
This is a Steckline communication station, K273CX, FM 102.5, and AM 1480 KQAM. Wichita Proud.
Bill O'Reilly here, Wednesday, July 10th, 2019. You are listening to the O'Reilly Update. And here's what's happening today in America. U.S. women's soccer star Megan Rapinoe ripping President Trump as the parade honoring the team unfolds. The British ambassador resigns after his anti-Trump cables leaked to the public. The future of Obamacare remains uncertain as a federal court decides its legality. The Labor Secretary may have to resign because of the Jeffrey Epstein case. Billionaire Ross Perot laid to rest. Also coming up, my message of the day on Miss Rapinoe. But first, her story. The women's soccer captain continues to accuse President Trump of excluding vulnerable Americans during an interview on CNN. She said the president's Make America Great Again slogan ignores people of color and other minorities. The soccer star is now a national celebrity after refusing to take part in the U.S. national anthem during the World Cup tournament. I'll have more on her actions coming up. The British ambassador to the USA resigning from his position after anti-Trump cables were leaked to the press. Kim Durock abruptly quit after the cables showed the diplomat repeatedly calling the president inept and clumsy. President Trump fired back at the ambassador following the leaks, calling him wacky and not well respected. The situation is resolved. The ambassador is gone. Obamacare being scrutinized in New Orleans federal court at this moment. At issue whether the health care law is unconstitutional. Court will rule whether the entire program should be scrapped after the individual mandate was removed by Congress. President Trump's Labor Secretary Alex Acosta facing new scrutiny for his prior plea agreement with convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Critics say Acosta's 2008 agreement, while he was a federal attorney in Florida, was too lenient, allowing Epstein to continue his crimes for more than a decade. The feds are now prosecuting Epstein again. Self-made billionaire, former presidential candidate Ross Perot, laid to rest. He died after a 5-month battle with cancer at age 89. The proud Texan earned his fortune in the early days of the computer industry before running for president in 1992. Perot won 19 million votes against Bill Clinton, and some say he threw the election to Mr. Clinton over President Bush the Elder. Coming up, my message of the day on Megan Rapinoe. That's next. The housing market on fire all over the country with interest rates falling. It's a great time to sell your home. If you want to sell or buy, the competition is going to be fierce. You need a great real estate agent to help you. That's why my friend Glenn Beck started the service realestateagentsitrust.com as a way to make sure you get connected with agents who are successful, ambitious, like-minded, and eager to help you with your biggest investment. These are agents with a long track record of performance. There are no part-time or inexperienced agents in Beck's network. These are all professionals who have the tools and the talent to successfully take you through the process. Market value for your home cannot be done by a computer program or an equation. It takes years of expertise to evaluate your market and to price your home to sell quickly for top dollar. These agents are experts in your town, and they do business like you, with your values. So get moving today with realestateagentsitrust.com. That's realestateagentsitrust.com.
A trusted name for quality, that's Burwell Construction. It's the spring storm season, which means rough weather could cause problems to your roof and siding. If the storms hit, remember Burwell Construction. For over 25 years, Burwell Construction has provided quality craftsmanship to Kansas homes with roofing, siding, and windows. If rough weather hits you, call 316-794-3430 or visit burwellconstruction.com.
If it's built well, it's Burwell. Burwell Construction.
Polanski Seed, testing wheat varieties for over 60 years, has the only seed cleaning plant in Kansas that uses color sorting technology. We provide growers with the best quality seed possible, resulting in the best yield. Paradise and Rockstar, two top-performing wheat varieties, are available exclusively from Polanski Seed and our 250 dealers. Polanski Seed offers an elite lineup of 17 certified wheat varieties. Visit us online at PolanskiSeed.com, powered by Generations, farming for the future.
The update message of the day, the mistake Megan Rapinoe is making. The U.S. women's soccer team is being honored today in New York City with a parade. As you may know, the Americans won the World Cup for the second consecutive year. This should be an occasion where all Americans come together in admiration for the skills of the team. But Megan Rapinoe, the captain, has almost single-handedly destroyed that by injecting her politics into the World Cup. Ms. Rapinoe apparently has a problem with President Trump and perhaps her country in general. So she refuses to sing the national anthem or place her hand over her heart. Then, even before her team had won the cup, she told the world, quote, "I'm not going to the effing White House," unquote. That was crude and inappropriate. Not for the dissent. If the woman doesn't want the honor of a White House visit, she's entitled to pass. That is her right. But her wrong is injecting politics into a forum designed to showcase athletic achievement. Her political activism is totally out of context. Ms. Rapinoe is also alienating millions of Americans and putting a damper on the joy of victory. She is doing this selfishly, marketing herself in liberal anti-Trump circles as a political hero. Perhaps her teammates would like some time off from her politics. Maybe they'd like a day of celebration the entire country could enjoy. They can't say that because the committed left press would attack them, but the feeling is most likely there. But Megan Rapinoe will not give her teammates a break because she wants to go on CNN to bash Trump and insult the 63 million people who voted for him. Could she not have waited a few days before auditioning to become a left-wing commentator? Just a few days, Megan. Then you could have bashed away. But Rapinoe understands she can become famous fast by using the World Cup to promote herself and her political point of view. That's egocentric, to say the least. Colin Kaepernick did the same thing. He used the National Football League to promote his anti-American, anti-cop agenda. Kaepernick could have waited until the offseason to make his points, but no. He wanted the TV cameras on the field pointed right at him. Megan Rapinoe is most likely very happy today. The press is lionizing her, commercial endorsements await, and she is the center of attention on a day when the entire women's team should be the center of attention. But America today is not the country it used to be. Selfishness and narcissism is now celebrated in many places, not scorned. To some Americans, Ms. Rapinoe is virtuous and courageous, despite the fact that she has polarized the country and brought unnecessary controversy to a tremendous victory for her team. The situation is not about equal pay. There's no question the women's soccer team should be paid even more than the men's team because economics dictate that. No, this is about using a worldwide athletic exhibition to promote yourself and your politics. And that's a message. We'll have more on Megan Rapinoe tonight on the No Spin News. You can see that broadcast on BillO'Reilly.com. Hope you check it out. Right back with something you might not know. Millions of Americans have been diagnosed with cancer or a serious illness. If you are one of them and money is a problem, you're not alone. It's simple. If you own a life insurance policy of $100,000 or more, then Life Guide Partners can evaluate your coverage for free to see if you qualify for cash now when you need it the most. Be ready to take down this number. If you own a life insurance policy of $100,000 or more and you are living with a serious illness, then Life Guide Partners can evaluate your coverage free to see if you qualify for cash now. So write this number down, 1-888-GUIDE-50. Totally free to call. Get rid of those insurance premiums. Stop paying them. Consider turning that life policy into cash. The number again, 1-888-GUIDE-50. 1-888-484-3350. 1-888-GUIDE-50. Call now.
You make a million tough business decisions every day. So here's the easiest one of the year. Dell's Black Friday in July is back and bigger than ever. Get no-brainer deals on the very latest computers with Intel Core processors and a huge selection of servers, electronics, and more, all with free shipping on everything. To make your decision even easier, Dell's small business technology advisors can help you find just the right tech. Call 877-BUY-DELL. That's an easy call to make at 877-BUY-DELL or visit Dell.com/smallbusiness.
Hurry into the Ford Hurry Up and Save sales event and get 20% estimated savings on select Ford SUVs. Plus, earn complimentary maintenance through Ford Pass Rewards. Modem must be activated within 60 days of purchase through the Ford Pass app on a smartphone and remain active for at least 6 months after activation. Eligible on select 2019 model year vehicles. Vehicle must have arrived at dealer at least 61 days prior to the sale date. Estimated savings include an average dealer discount based on a sales survey of average discounts offered by Ford dealers nationally. Discount may vary. Dealer determines price. For all offers, take new retail delivery from an authorized Ford dealer stock by 9/3/19. See participating dealer for complete details.
Now the O'Reilly Update brings you something you might not know. There is no denying the fact that people all over the world have a love affair with cars. Since German inventor Carl Benz patented his strange-looking Motorwagen in 1886, humans have used the automobile for work, play, and everything in between. But now it's the end of an era. Volkswagen halting production this week for its iconic Beetle, a car with a history that may surprise you. While many in America identify the tiny car with the hippie movement of the late 1960s, its roots actually date back to Nazi Germany. Dictator Adolf Hitler demanded Austrian engineer Ferdinand Porsche create a car that could be easily purchased by average citizens in the Third Reich, something affordable, small, efficient. The word Volkswagen is German for people's car. World War II derailed the operation, and the car was relaunched under the British occupying forces in the late 1940s. More than 1 million Beetles would be sold by 1955. So, it's sad. It's the end of the road for a brand as recognizable around the globe as Coca-Cola, but mark my words, the Beetle will become a vintage car, and if you keep it in good shape, you'll be able to sell it for a lot of money down the road. Now, here in the USA, Americans prefer their cars a bit larger than the Beetle. Generally, American motorists prefer trucks, SUVs, or pickups, those making up the top 15 of 20 best-selling models. Not the same for Europe. Our friends across the pond still like their cars on the smaller side. In Austria, Belgium, and Germany, the tiny Volkswagen Golf remains the number one car. French prefer the two-door Renault Clio. The American Ford Fiesta outselling the competition in the UK nearly 2-1. One key factor in Europe's small car obsession is taxes. In Europe, taxes are more than double, sometimes triple the USA. The British spend an average of $6 per gallon. So, before you plan on importing your Ford pickup across the pond for your next vacation, remember this: a $50 fill-up in Manhattan will set you back $138 in London. Cheerio. Back after this. It's an uncertain world out there, you know that. Disaster can strike at any time. So you need to be prepared to protect yourself and your family. One way to do that is with freeze-dried food. It tastes good, it's healthy, can be stored for 25 years. That's why I'm happy to tell you about a company I recommend, Wise Foods. I have experience with them myself. During Superstorm Sandy, I lost power for 7 days. All of my refrigerated food done. But my food supply from Wise Foods was as fresh as the day I received it. Visit Wise Food Storage, one word, wisefoodstorage.com/Bill, and explore their starter kits and long-term emergency food options. They are even offering free shipping plus a big discount of 25% off for my listeners. So please go to wisefoodstorage.com/Bill, wisefoodstorage.com/Bill, or you can call 855-269-0501. That's 855-269-0501. Thank you for listening to the O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. No spin, just facts, and always looking out for you.
It's time for Reason.
That's the nature of the beast right now, so let's talk about conservatism, because we can win when we talk about the ideas. And people can't argue with it, because we win on platform when we actually argue the platform, rather than go into these rhetorical bumper sticker type arguments.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
It's been a long time coming. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, buddy, go! Let's get her done. Hey, welcome into the Voice of Reason. It's hour number 2 of the Voice of Reason, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas, on the Big Talker, 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, KQAM. We are simulcasting all over social media, Facebook Live, YouTube Live. You can check us out on Facebook on the Voice of Reason page, KQAM page, on YouTube, youtube.com. Find KQAM Radio's page there. You can subscribe and watch as well. All the good jazz going on. Doesn't matter where you're at. You can always listen, of course, on TuneIn and KQAMradio.com. We are all over the interweb, and if you can't find us, the heck's wrong with you, man? Great to have you for the day today. It is a Wednesday, halfway through the week, which means it is the light at the end of the tunnel that you can see after the long week from the holiday. Jim Howell, Sedgwick County Commissioner, he'll be joining us in hour number 3, as he does every Wednesday. Now that they're back at it after the holiday last week and they didn't have a meeting, they have extra stuff to get into today, so we'll get a recap from that. The very first recap that you can hear from right here on the show after the Sedgwick County meeting. But this hour, it's really fascinating. Last hour we talked about a little bit about DCF, the Department of Children and Families, and the politics going into that. But there's a deeper issue. And we talk about like prisons and, you know, how much money goes into the prisons and what we do to try and do reformations. And it's wild to me that someone like Kim Kardashian would be the voice of like prison reform in the nation. To me, that's a little strange. Again, you want to talk about oddness in the world of politics. There you have it. But as we sink more money into the prisons and we hear like Governor Laura Kelly say that we're double bunking and so on and so forth, at the end of the day, we can talk about the reformation there and should we go to prison for, what shouldn't we go to prison for, but that's, again, doing the bigger Band-Aid with the widening gap in the leg. Why would you put a bigger Band-Aid on it when you actually need to get in, figure out what's going on with it, sew it all up, and make it all better so you don't have to worry about putting on Band-Aids? And a few weeks ago at the Sedgwick County Republican meeting, we heard a great speech with some really fascinating information on the foster care program and the amount of people that help out with foster care and the amount of children that go through this. And as we fight the fight today about abortion and foster care and abortion with the right to life, then we also have to look beyond the right to life on how the quality of life is. And as we as conservatives advocate for the not equal outcome but equal opportunities, this is one major issue in society where we see a lack of a equal opportunity in many cases because of the situation kids are growing up in that are leading to different lives. So in studio with us, I'm really excited to talk about this for this hour, as it's a fascinating topic for sure. But Judge Kevin Smith hanging out with us here. How are you, my friend?
Doing very well. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, it's good. I think it's the first time you and I have chatted on the radio. You've been on with some of the guest hosts that have filled in for the show, but
just
for you
Jim
and I
Howell.
to chat,
just Jim
with Jim Howell, yeah.
That's it.
So you coming on with me, this is great. This has been long overdue, so I appreciate you coming in here.
You bet.
Talking about the foster care program, this is a really emotional argument or an emotional discussion for a lot of individuals because this hits home for a lot of people going into foster care and the children that have to struggle with a lot of this. Do you know off the back of your hand the number of children that are in foster care in the state of Kansas?
In the state, we have just over 7,600 kids that are in out-of-home placements.
Wow.
And in Sedgwick County, we have 1,172 is the latest number, 1,172 kids that are in out-of-home placements in Sedgwick County.
Mm-hmm.
And that's let me rephrase that on that last net. Although those are kids that are subject to the Sedgwick County District Court's jurisdiction, only 700 of those, approximately 700 of those are actually in homes in Sedgwick County. The other 450 or so are placed outside of our county in other areas, anywhere from an hour to 2 to 3 hours away. So
why are they placed so far away?
we don't have enough foster homes.
Really? That's
Plain and
what it is.
simple.
We just don't have enough resources. Not enough people helping.
That's it.
That's crazy.
That's it.
Now, if they're that far away, I'm sure that creates complications for either court hearings or for visiting things or for doing things that the children need to do, isn't it?
Well, it's not just that. Understand that these case plans start. Understand there's a presumption and there's data that shows that even though they were subject to abuse and neglect, the reality is in most cases, for their long-term betterment, it's better for them to be reintegrated with their biological parents. Once these parents have addressed the issues and complied with court orders and things of that nature and are fit to parent, they need their kids back. The big problem with placing kids so far away from Sedgwick County is initially some of these cases start off with supervised parenting time, which means the children have to be transported to a local office, and then the supervised parenting time happens there. So if these kids are in a car for 1, 2, 3 hours to get here to the visit, and then they only get an hour supervised parenting time and then are transported back, that in and of itself is traumatic. And then sometimes you have parents that are struggling to meet court orders, struggling with transportation issues, and sometimes they can't make it on time to these visits. And if they're more than a few minutes late, the visits get canceled. So then these kids are transported. They're told their parents can't make it. Then they're transported back, and it's traumatizing for the kids. So
oh my gosh.
For every side, both the traumatizing of the children and giving parents an opportunity to become fit to parent and parent their children, it makes it difficult. It makes it very, very difficult to work these case plans and for to focus on the child's best interest. So
yeah,
that's a big problem. And that's one thing I'm focusing on, and I'm going to focus on that this whole hour we have here. That's why I've been focusing on community outreach, getting the community involved. This isn't an issue, and I'll just say, quite frankly, DCF's problems in Kansas aren't unique to Kansas. This is a nationwide issue. It's the nature of the beast, so to speak.
Sure.
The reality is these kids have challenges in every single state, and the way for Sedgwick County, which is where I'm living,
sure.
The way for Sedgwick County to deal with this is for Sedgwick County residents to press into this issue, to become fosters, to become advocates for these kids, to become mentors for these kids. If we have sufficient, I think the solution is if instead of having 700 foster families here, if we had 2,000 or 3,000 out of the 513,000 residents that step forward to become fosters, we can ideally place these kids with families that are equipped to deal with their unique behavioral issues. We'll decrease the disruption rate, and we'll ensure that these kids can be placed in Sedgwick County so they can see their families, they can see their friends, they can stay in their current school. All those things that have been proven to result in better outcomes, we can accomplish those if our community steps up and presses into this issue. I think you said it before. Bottom line is these kids are, they did not ask for the situation that they're in.
Right.
They were born into it, and they have no choice.
Sure.
But we as a community do have a choice if we'll actually do something to help
can
them.
we step up to actually help these children? I mean, we talk about the incarceration rates in Kansas. We talk about the problems of crime that's being committed, and we look at so many different aspects between, the economy struggling to parents that can't take care of their children to whatever the case is. But at the end of the day, if there's no structure at the beginning like this, I mean, that leads to a whole disaster from there on out. And, so many just here in Sedgwick County that there are, and you talked a little bit, just the number of cases that go through the courts here in Sedgwick County and the number that you see personally. I mean, that's got to be hard on you to actually judge on all these, isn't it?
It's challenging, absolutely.
Wow.
It's absolutely, but obviously, the focus has to be on the best interest of the children.
Mm-hmm.
It can't be on anybody else. obviously there's a process. Parents have due process rights. They have a constitutional right to parent their kids,
Right.
and those rights have to be respected. But at the same time, the overarching factor in these cases that has to be considered is, are these children safe? Are these children protected? That
Sure.
has to be the overarching consideration.
Have you seen from your experience a large number of parents that do give up their kids for adoption when they first had the children? Maybe it's because they can't take care of them, they don't want to take care of them. A percentage, large or not, that actually do want to be part of their children's life when they do get their life back on track? Or do you see the families that are just like, I don't want anything to do with it, I want to pretend it never happened? I mean, do you see maybe a medium between the two, or kind of where are we at on family-wise?
It's hard to. I know several attorneys that have adoption agencies, adoption placement agencies. So I don't know the number, but given the number of professionals that are involved in that part, that's where the kid, these young girls, these teenage girls have children, and they decide, along with sometimes the fathers, to give their kids up for adoption. I don't know the numbers there, but it's probably fairly substantial. As far as the child in need of care system, I mean, again, at any given time, we have about 1,200 kids that are in out-of-home placements.
Sure.
Overall, last year, there were over 18,000 in the entire Wichita region. There were 18,000 intakes for investigations for child abuse. In Sedgwick County, there were 14,700 intakes.
Sure.
And of those, 630 resulted in cases being filed. So as far as the percentage, you're probably looking at roughly half or a little bit more that end up reintegrating. Some 15 to 20% usually result in termination and then ultimately adoption placements, hopefully, and then about probably 15 to 25 or so percent end up being independent living tracts where, for example, you terminate parental rights, but the kids have behavioral issues. You can't find an adoption placement, so they end up going on an independent living track.
Sure.
And then they age out of the system, and then they move on from there.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about that off the air, about once you turn 18, they can decide to say, you know what, I'm going to go off on my own. And after the break, I want to talk a little bit about the programs to help them as well. But do the vast majority of the children, if they're in foster care by the age of 18, do they just say, I'm out, I don't want to do this anymore?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, I mean, I'm done. I'm going to go figure it out myself.
If they reach that point, I think there's frustration on the part of a lot of these children.
Sure.
And the reality is, if they're aging out at 18, it means that they're potentially they're those kids that have those behavioral issues that resulted in multiple disruptions. For example, the latest report from DCF from May, over a 1,000-day period of time, the average number of placements, different foster placements, and that's about 3 years, is 9.6. So almost 10 different foster placements over a 3-year period of time. And understand, most of these kids at around 21.9 months, these cases close.
Sure.
The kids that age out, I mean, they're in it a lot more than 1,000 days.
Sure.
So you can imagine the number of placements. And if they have behaviors, we've had some cases involving, children that have been in 40, 50, 60 different placements over the lifetime of that case. So
oh my gosh.
You can imagine. So I would say most kids, once they reach 18, they ask to be released.
They're gone, yeah.
That being said, there's a good number, and I'm very pleased with this outcome. There's a very good number of those that they intentionally waited and didn't run, and they stayed in their placement until they were 18, or stayed in whatever placement they were in, whether it was the 4th or 5th or 6th or 8th or 10th, until they turned 18. Then they requested release so they could tap into the tuition assistance programs through the state universities and trade schools. So the ones that typically ask for release, very often they're the ones that go on to some sort of other education, trade school education or college education. And as a result, obviously, they have a much better chance of being successful at some point.
Sure. So they do play semi-smartly. And as you mentioned, there are actual programs to help get a higher education if you stay through the foster care program and then choose to go through those programs at 18.
Right. That's exactly right.
That's good to hear. I was not aware of something like that. We got just about a minute before the bottom of the hour break here, but real quickly, and when we come back, I want to talk about how people can become a foster care parent if they choose to do so and help out, or a family. But some of the behavioral issues, if they choose to become so, what could some people expect? I mean, how do these kids act out? And if they choose to try and help out, is that a concern for many families of how rambunctious is this kid actually going to be?
Very good.
Yeah, we'll do that when we come back. I want to get into that because, I think that may be a lot of skepticism for a lot of families in that sense. So I want to talk about that. And then,
so are you thinking about becoming a foster parent? Is that what you're saying?
Possibly. My wife has brought it up a couple of times. So if she's listening, if Mrs. Voice of Reason's listening to the show, she's probably tuning in intently and saying, what can we do?
Well, it's usually our better halves that bring that up.
No, well, that is true. The better halves always do bring that up. So we'll talk about that. We'll get into what you can do to become a foster care parent. And how many did you say we have in Sedgwick County now?
1,172.
1,172 in a county with a lot more people than that.
513,000.
Yeah, we'll have to work on that one. So cool. We'll do that when we come back. Judge Kevin Smith here hanging out, talking about the foster care program as we talk about the right to life and right to opportunity to live and do your thing. Then we got to get them on the right track and build the foundation. We'll do that when we come back. Your phone calls, if you have any questions as well, we'd love to hear from you at 316-721-8255. Stay here on The Voice of Reason.
Here's the latest from the KQAM News Center.
Texas and Louisiana are getting ready for the arrival of what is expected to be the first hurricane of the season. Texas Governor Greg Abbott.
We don't know how severe this is going to be. We don't know where all it will impact. What we do know is this, and that is if you prepare for the very worst, you will be in a situation where you will be able to come out far better in the end.
New Orleans saw severe flooding with another storm system today. The hurricane could hit New Orleans this weekend with as much as 20 more inches of rainfall. U.S. Soccer Federation President Carlos Cordero says female athletes deserve fair and equal pay. Fans of the World Cup champion, U.S. women's national soccer team were chanting equal pay today as Cordero spoke at a celebration for the team in New York. The Dow up about 100 points. I'm Mike Moss.
Driving is freedom. The freedom to keep moving, to control your destiny, and to choose your path. And now that freedom fits in the palm of your hand. It's called Ford Pass, the only app that gives you roadside assistance, Ford Pass rewards, and now when you buy or lease a new Ford, earn points you can use toward flexible complimentary maintenance that gives you, well, more freedom. Ford Pass, built to keep you moving, built Ford proud. Visit your participating Ford dealership to find out about getting flexible complimentary maintenance when you buy or lease a new Ford and sign up for rewards.
Roadside assistance is included for certain Ford owners and available to everyone for a per-service fee. Ford reserves the right to change program details without obligations. Visit your participating dealer or FordPassRewards.com for program rules and restrictions. Ford Pass, compatible with select smartphone platforms, is available via a download.
Business.
Mid-American Network News. Kansas Attorney General Derek Schmidt is threatening to take Governor Laura Kelly to court over a Department of Children and Families public food aid policy. Last May, DCF announced it was going to begin using federal exemptions to time limits on food assistance for adults who don't have children and who are not working at least 20 hours a week. DCF said this would help struggling Kansans like young adults who just exited the foster care system and need more time to get on their feet. Republicans say this breaks a 2015 state law barring the use of federal exemptions. The Attorney General on Monday wrote to the governor saying either the DCF ends this new policy by Friday or he'll take the case to court for a judge's ruling on its legality. Former Western Kansas Congressman Tim Huelskamp has resigned as the leader of an Illinois-based group that dismisses climate change and promotes free market policies. The Heartland Institute gave no reason for Huelskamp's departure. I'm Stephanie Austin.
Good morning. This is Carrie at the El Dorado Livestock Auction. This week we'll have a good run of cattle. We'll probably have around 15 to 1,700 head of cattle this week. Some of our featured consignments will be 120 head of Charolais Cross home-raised steers and heifers that'll be weighing 7 to 8. We'll have a group of 180 head of mostly black steers that'll be off of brome that'll be weighing 850 pounds. We'll have a group of 240 head of black northern steers that'll be weighing around 850 pounds. And we're going to have 5 loads of mostly black steers that'll be weighing about 9 1/4. If you have any consignments you'd like to give us or any questions for us, feel free to give us a call at 316-320-3212. And you can check out a full list of our consignments on our website, which is www.eldoradolivestock.com.
Hurry into the Ford Hurry Up and Save sales event and get 20% estimated savings on select Ford SUVs. Plus, earn complimentary maintenance through Ford Pass Rewards. Moda must be activated within 60 days of purchase through the Ford Pass app on a smartphone and remain active for at least 6 months after activation. Eligible on select 2019 model year vehicles. Vehicle must have arrived at dealer at least 61 days prior to the sale date. Estimated savings include an average dealer discount based on a sales survey of average discounts offered by Ford dealers nationally. Discount may vary. Dealer determines price. For all offers, take new retail delivery from an authorized Ford dealer stock by 9/3/19. See participating dealer for complete details.
Here's your latest forecast on the Big Talker, KQAM. Slight chance of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. Mostly sunny otherwise. High today of 92 with some light winds. Partly cloudy tonight. Overnight low of 68. Mostly sunny tomorrow with a high of 88. Friday, mostly sunny with a high near 91 and light winds. I'm Rich Summers, and that's your latest forecast on Wichita's big station, the Big Talker, AM 1480 and 102.5 FM, KQAM.
At 12:35, it's currently 85 degrees.
Live in local mornings, right here on the Big Talker, 1480 AM and 102.5 FM. The fastest growing radio show in Kansas.
What? How's he do that? That's what I'm talking about.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Hey, welcome into it. This is the Voice of Reason. I'm Andy Hoosier. You're you, I'm me. You're doing your thing, I'm doing my thing, and hopefully it's entertaining enough for you to stick in here. Welcome into the show. It's great to have you along for the ride today. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK on the Shocker Pools hotlines. We'd love to hear from you. A very interesting conversation and a very hard one to have for many when it comes to the foster care system and the amount of kids that are in it and the lack of help as we try and figure out deeper issues in society. And Judge Kevin Smith hanging out with us here for another half hour. And I wanted to tease going into the bottom of the hour break was 2 questions really is as we talk about trying to get more foster care parents in the area and how few of them there actually are in Sedgwick County. The first question is, a lot of people, I'm sure, have the red flags or the hesitation of, well, what am I in for if I bring a kid in who, I mean, to no fault of their own, has been through hell, has gone from house to house to house, family to family to family, tried to run away maybe a few times, is angry at the world. What could we expect if we bring someone into the house like this and try to care for them, and what kind of response will we get?
Well, obviously, it's a case-by-case situation.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, we've had several friends, and I've dealt with several cases where foster parents have taken on this challenge, and 6, 9, 12 months later, they're still taking care of the same children. And sometimes those kids reintegrate with their parents. Sometimes they end up going to an adoption case plan. So
sure.
I think those true nightmare cases aren't that common. One thing that they try to do through DCF and through their contractor, they try to ideally match families with children. It's very difficult because, again, if we only have 700 homes for 1,200 kids, it's hard to match kids with behavior issues, ideally with families that are equipped to handle those behavior issues. But they do try to do that because, one of the big problems is the disruption rate. So over 1,000 days,
sure.
The latest data from Kansas indicates that each child is in approximately 9.6 different foster placements.
Wow.
One of the problems, the reason why we have that number of placement, that data, is that there aren't enough fosters to ideally place these children. For example, we have for the entire state of Kansas approximately 2,600 to 2,700 foster homes at any given moment. That's for over 7,600 kids.
Oh, man.
So, again, we have a problem in Sedgwick.
Right.
Now, in Sedgwick, we have a greater percentage of foster homes for those kids than we have in other areas.
Sure.
But it's worse in a lot of your rural counties and some other of the urban counties. It's worse than it is here. So But that being said, that means Sedgwick County is taking up 450 of those placements in those other areas that probably need more placements in their counties as well.
Sure.
So the big problem, and again, I just keep hammering this point home. The big problem is if we had sufficient foster families in Sedgwick County, then we wouldn't have to farm out our kids to other counties and cause trauma to the children as a result of that.
Sure.
So, that's in particular, I've been speaking to churches, different civic organizations, getting the word out. And one thing that I do find encouraging, first of all, let's go to the flip side here. The discouraging fact is that we have 513,000 residents in Sedgwick County. We have approximately 143,000 people who claim to be part of either Catholic, Protestant, or other religious denominations that are, by their nature, philanthropic and charitable.
Sure.
And yet with that many people, again, 143,000 charitable people, possibly 513,000 charitable people. You don't have to be charitable, be in a church to be charitable.
Yeah, absolutely.
That being said, of that number, we only have 700 foster homes.
Wow.
And we're talking 0.000 some percent of the population that's stepping forward to be fosters. In my faith, we believe in tithing our time and our treasure.
Sure.
That's 10%. So if 10% of the faith community stepped forward, we would have over 14,000 foster homes available for these kids.
That would cover what we need.
Or advocates as court-appointed special advocates to advocate for the kids while the cases are open, or mentors through something like Youth Thrive or Big Brothers and Big Sisters or Youth Horizons.
Sure.
But we aren't stepping forward. Now, again, when I speak to organizations, we do get a surge of people that come forward, in the tens maybe.
Sure.
And maybe even single digits. But we get people that step forward to be fosters, to be CASAs, to be Youth Thrive mentors. So when people hear the story, they are willing to step forward. So I would just say for your listeners, if anybody who belongs to any type of church or civic organization that wants to hear this message, that wants to hear the numbers, that wants to hear how desperate the situation is and what they can do to help, you've got my email and you've got my my office number. They can contact you and reach out to me, and I'll
Sure.
drop everything to talk about this issue. Because again, as a child in need of care judge, it's very frustrating whenever we deal with these issues. And the cases that have solid foster families, number one, we've got an extra set of eyes looking out for these kids. Number two, I know that when these kids are in this family, the traumatizing ends because they are being taken care of. And that's
Sure.
the main thing. We need to make sure while they're in this system that tends to traumatize kids, that they're not being re-traumatized by being placed in another foster and another foster and another foster, and are being taken care of by the family they're with. And I know that your listeners are probably good, solid people, and if they become fosters, I'm sure that the kids that are in that home are going to be very well taken care of, as well as you and Mrs. Voice of Reason. So,
well, she has definitely mentioned the idea, but it is encouraging that when you talk to people, do rise up to meet that, because I mean the numbers are so scary. I mean, there are a few things in the world that really shock and awe me, especially seeing the dumbness of where politics have gone today. But these types of numbers scare me. I mean, it's ridiculous how bad that things have gotten in that sense, and how many kids actually need the help. Now, if they're not in a foster care of a parent or of a family like that, then you said they're just in the group homes. I mean, how well does that work out for
well,
them?
we really don't have. After July 1st, we had this thing called Senate Bill 367 that kind of revised the ability to detain kids. Also, there's been a reduction in funding. So, and also there's a federal statute. Susan Humphreys, if you've had her on, she can kind of elaborate on this. But there have been statutory changes through federal funding programs that do not even they don't provide funding to states that have group homes because and I agree, group homes are not best for these kids, but the bottom line is they're cutting it off completely to where
Sure.
we don't even have that option in most of these cases. So, and I'm not sure how that's going to work out, because the reality is for certain situations, we have to have a place to place these kids. But what they're typically doing is they're doing short-term placements day after day after day after day after day with different group home facilities with the purpose of locating an actual foster home. So they're not actually classifying that as a group home setting. So
Wow.
that's one of the things they're doing. But again, the main thing is we need to have sufficient fosters.
Sure.
and there's some cases that are difficult. If you have youth sex offenders, for example, it's really hard. You can't place them back in homes where there may be a victim residing, and you obviously the fosters are told that these kids have these issues. And you mentioned you have a daughter. The fact is, if you have a daughter, I doubt you're going to agree to accept a placement for a youth that is suspected of sex offenses.
Sure.
So, and those are a very small percentage of these cases. Most of these cases are parental abuse or neglect cases. So they're cases that don't involve those type of actions or behaviors.
Sure.
And that's what we're talking about. So what probably 98% of these kids, they just need foster homes that are willing to potentially put up with maybe some behavior issues that linger from the trauma that they've experienced.
Sure.
So,
yeah, absolutely. 316-721-8255. We got Judge Kevin Smith here in studio. If you have any question, we'd love to hear from you. And with that, let's go to the phones here, shall we? Good afternoon. Who's this?
Jordan.
Jordan, how are you?
I'm doing well. I had a question for the judge.
You
So
bet.
my husband and I have always wanted to foster. We just don't think we have the space for it. What is the ideal setup for taking in a child?
Well, I can't directly speak to that. I will tell you, though, that if you contact one of the agencies that trains fosters, they can do a home assessment and tell you what you would need to do if you wanted to be a foster. That's typically the first step. So I would suggest we have 5 that we deal with on a regular basis. Ember Hope is one. St. Francis Ministries is one. Salvation Army is one. Also, DECA and KVC are active in this area. So if you call any of those organizations, they can do a home assessment and make a determination as to what you need to do. Understand it varies. There's some families that are prepared to take on one child. Some families are prepared to take on a whole family of children, anywhere from 3 to 5. I've heard. So it depends on what you're prepared to do, and there are different things you can do as a foster. You can either offer respite care, which is basically give a foster family a break for a weekend, for example, or you can be an emergency placement. You would get those late night calls for kids that need an immediate placement, and it would only be for a day or two before they found a longer term placement. And I believe with whatever capacity you function as a foster, that would determine how much resources you need in the house, bed space, things of that nature that you would need. So I would contact one of those organizations, and they can kind of give you some direction on that.
Yeah, there's a lot of different options there. Does that help out a little bit, Jordan?
Absolutely. I wasn't even aware of the emergency placement options. I thought I was just going to have to full-time parent as soon as I signed up to foster.
Not at all. It depends on what you're willing to do. And I will tell you, there is a desperate need for respites. And again, that's the very short-term placements where you have some fosters that are willing to take care of these kids for 6 months, 9 months, a year or more, and they just need a break. And that's where a respite.
My full-time job is actually a respite care nurse for
there you go.
special needs children.
Exactly.
So I understand that need a lot.
You bet. Absolutely. And whatever capacity you can serve, please step forward because we need your help.
Yeah, that's great. Jordan, I appreciate it. That's a great question. Very much so. And as you mentioned, again, list down the different organizations that do help with this, because the question is, how do you become a foster care parent, whether it is the respite, whether it is the emergency, or a long-term? I mean, how do you go through those steps? You go through the application, you go through the home screening, you talk about the situation you're in and who and how many kids or what you can kind of help with, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I like that. One more time, what are those organizations?
Ember Hope, St. Francis Ministries, Salvation Army, DECA, DCCA, and KVC. Those are the 5 ones that I see on a fairly regular basis in this area.
Wow.
And there are some others, but those are the ones that come to mind. But the nice thing is, in this modern world, we have Google, and you can type in there foster care in Wichita, Kansas, and you may find another organization or two. But those are the ones that typically come up in these cases in Sedgwick County.
Sure, I love that. And as you mentioned, I mean, this goes from right up to the age of birth up to the age of 18. So depending on what you're looking for or how you can help out too, there's some people that just get all googly-eyed over the newborn baby. That I mean, I can't even fathom the fact that they're torn away from the family like that, or that the parents don't want them, or any that sort of thing. But you can take infants like that as well, correct?
Right. There are cases involving, for example, not only abuse, but there's some kids that are born to substance abuse moms, and they're positive for meth, cocaine, things of that nature. And very often they need an emergency placement so they can make sure that baby's taken care of while they look for relatives, grandparents, kinship placements. And very often those are short-term too. But again, they need somebody to step forward whenever that call comes in at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and the mom is threatening to leave the hospital when she's high on meth. You know? So there's a real need for that as well.
Good golly. Let's take one more break here, wrapping up hour number 2. Judge Kevin Smith with us for one more segment as we wrap up this conversation, what you can do to help, how we can continue on to make the community better, because, just this is long-term stuff that's not just helping now, but it's helping the children have a foundation moving forward in the future as well, to where we don't see high incarceration rates and stuff like that. We'll talk about some of that when we come back. Wrapping up the hour number 2 here on The Voice of Reason. Stay tuned.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier on the Big Talker KQAM.
Market information, Mid-America Ag Network. Well, we're seeing some plus signs now for corn and for Kansas City wheat. Soybeans been holding their own all day and starting to improve now. July corn is up 1 at 4.32 3/4. September corn up 2 1/4 at 4.34 3/4. July Kansas City wheat is up 3 1/2 at 4.44. September up 1 1/4 at 4.40 1/2. Chicago wheat and Minneapolis wheat coming along for the ride higher too. So good news. July soybeans up 9 1/4 at 8.92. August beans up 7 3/4 at 8.93 3/4. July soybean meal is up 80 cents at 308.70. August up $1.40 at 310.60. Soy oil is mixed. July down 13 points at 27.75, but August up 8 points at 28.09. So mixed numbers across the soy complex, but the beans themselves on a bit of a rally now. August live cattle down 57 at 107.55. October down 45 at 108.85. Later months are all down as well. Feeder cattle are struggling a bit. August feeders down 32 at 142.55. September down 20 at 142.92. July hogs up 45 at 71.82. August hogs up 3.15 at 82.27. Some nice gains in the later months, many by well over $1. So hogs are doing nicely while cattle are having some issues here on a midweek Wednesday. October cotton is 74 points higher at 63.77. December's up 60 points at 63.88. So cotton is having a good day so far. Crude oil is rallying too. August crude is up 222 at 60.05. September up 220 at 60.14. Unleaded gas, heating oil, and natural gas are coming along higher too. Gold is up. August gold up $12.80 at $1413.40. October is up $12.80 at $1,419.60 an ounce. So gold is doing well here on Wednesday. Market information from Mid-America Ag Network.
Wildcat fans, be a part of the new era of K-State football with head coach Chris Kleiman.
I'd be so jacked to be the next head football coach at Kansas State.
There's a great tradition of excellence at Kansas State, of character, of integrity. Those things are not going to change.
Tickets are on sale now for all 7 K-State football home games. Visit KStateSports.com or call 1-800-221-CATS to reserve your seats today.
Laying it on the line every dang day. You win that dang day.
Starseed is your one-stop shop for superior cover crops this planting season. We offer excellent cover crops that help capture unused energy and convert it to value. At Starseed, we have just the solution to improve soil health, conserve water, or minimize crop inputs. We even provide custom blend packages. Call Starseed today at 800-782-7311 or visit our website at gostarseed.com for all your seed needs.
This is John Sidoric with Heartland Avionics at Augusta Municipal Airport. With a $500 rebate available from the federal government for your ADSB installation, the mad rush is on. And at Heartland Avionics, we have 2 of the most popular brands pre-wired and ready to go, minimizing your aircraft's downtime. Heartland Avionics is also a certified dealer for many other ADSB installation options. Call Heartland Avionics or learn more at iflyaugusta.com.
I'm America's Digital Pro, Kim Commando. Join me Sundays 11 to 2 right here on the Big Talker, KQAM. Now back to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
7 minutes at the top of the hour, wrapping up our number dose here on The Voice of Reason, KQAM. Judge Kevin Smith hanging out one more segment, just a few minutes left. And got a message actually on social media as well. What kind of, if you want to become a foster parent, what kind of courses and or fees are involved to start the process and actually go through this?
I don't know specifics about that. I believe it's about a 30-day program.
Okay.
And it's fairly consistent as far as the training itself.
Okay.
DCF coordinates that through the providers. So
gotcha.
Probably expect at least 30 days of a commitment for the training part of it.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, that's good news. Now, there are other ways to help as well, even if you don't want to become a foster parent, but you can also help in other ways as well, correct?
That's correct. In fact, I'm glad you raised that question. You had mentioned before incarceration. You mentioned before dealing with these issues early on. One particular data point, and I will tell you that Kansas at some point will probably get the actual number here in Kansas, because currently there's a survey that's going on within the prisons and jails in our state to find out how many and what percentage of the inmates were actually foster kids. That
Sure.
being said, there's some data indicating that upwards of 70% of all the men and women incarcerated in our prisons were in foster care.
Wow.
Now, another factor, this segues into another a number that's very disturbing. The latest number for high school graduation rates for kids who age out of foster care in Kansas is just 39%. 39% graduate high school. And I suspect that the 61% who don't are probably some of the ones that end up committing those crimes and end up getting incarcerated. Now, that said, there are a couple of options that don't require a 24/7 commitment, like foster care. One that has a dramatic impact on those numbers, in fact, both of these options have a dramatic impact, is to be what's called a court-appointed special advocate. I can appoint an advocate. You're trained through CASA of Sedgwick County. That's who you would have to call, CASA of Sedgwick County. And then you would walk beside these kids. You would spend about 10 to 15 hours a month on the case. Some of it's time that you visit the child.
Sure.
Some of it's time that you review other things that are going on with the cases. And the fact that you're a CASA means that you'll be with that one child or one family of children from the beginning to the end of the case, and it has a dramatic impact on case outcomes. For example, kids who age out of the system, only 39% in Kansas graduate high school. When they have CASAs in Sedgwick County, 77% graduate high school.
Wow. It's a bit of that stability.
Right. Well,
Right.
that compares to the USD 259's graduation rate of just 73%.
Mm-hmm.
So more troubled kids with CASAs graduate high school in USD 259 than the kids who graduate USD 259 in general. So bottom line is you can have a dramatic impact, and those are the kids that go on to take advantage of those college tuition programs and trade school programs.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some other factors too, but overall CASA has a dramatic impact. In addition, we have an option here that's actually coordinated and paid for by DCF. You can be a Youth Thrive mentor for kids who age out, that are aged between 17 and 21. And they just moved into this area, so I don't have Sedgwick County numbers, but in Johnson County, they graduate high school 80% of the time when they have a Youth Thrive advocate. So it's very similar to the impact CASAs have.
Wow.
So that's another option. Now, with the Youth Thrive mentor, you're encouraged to be a little more involved, kind of like a big brother and big sister, and also carry that relationship well beyond the time whenever that they turn 21.
Mm-hmm.
But that's an optional aspect of it. But in the meantime, you can help them get jobs, apply for schools and scholarships, things of that nature, and you can have a dramatic impact. And obviously, both those options require a lot less than the 24/7 required for being a foster, but it will have a dramatic impact. And incidentally, it'll probably substantially reduce the number of foster placements, even
Sure.
with the problem we have with the number of foster kids. But that being said, it all begins with more foster homes. Then we need people to advocate who can't foster, and we need people who are willing to mentor these kids who feel that that's the better option for them.
Sure, absolutely. And that's, like you said, I mean, the stability there and the seeing automatically, I mean, we can see the numbers show the stability, show the graduation rate, show the kids wanting to excel and actually wanting to, because no matter where they're bouncing around, they know that they can go to that person back to have a little guidance and a little bit of stability in their life, and that's so needed. Regardless of what extent you can help, this is an epidemic that no one seems to be talking about right now. So, Judge Kevin Smith, thank you so much for letting us know about this, being aware of it, and letting people know that there are options to help, because as we fight for the right to life on the abortion debate, this is the continuation of that in the long term, isn't it?
It sure is. It sure is. And I do thank you for this opportunity. And let me just throw out my my email.
Please do.
My
yeah.
private email is Kevin4Judge@gmail.com. Anybody who has a church or organization that feels that you believe wants to hear more about this, send me an email. I'll be happy to set something up and make a presentation to your group.
That'd be fantastic. Judge Kevin Smith, I appreciate it, my friend. We got to talk again soon.
Thank you.
There we go. Take a break here. Hour number 3 around the corner. Big information on that one. When we come back, we'll shift gears to Sedgwick County Commissioner Jim Howell. Wrap up the show today. Lots more to get to. Big news going all around the state of Kansas right here. Stay tuned on The Voice of Reason.
Discover new products and services at Cattle U and Trade Show, July 31st and August 1st at the United Wireless Arena in Dodge City, Kansas. Practical and useful learning for cow-calf producers, stockers, and feeders. Enjoy 2 days of keynote speakers, breakout sessions, and industry panels while becoming BQA certified. Register at cattleu.net. Make it a family trip and plan to attend Dodge City Days and the Roundup Rodeo. Cattle U and Trade Show, a High Plains Journal event. For details and registration, go to cattleu.net.
You make a million tough business decisions every day. So here's the easiest one of the year. Dell's Black Friday in July is back and bigger than ever. Get no-brainer deals on the very latest computers with Intel Core processors and a huge selection of servers, electronics, and more. All with free shipping on everything. To make your decision even easier, Dell's small business technology advisors can help you find just the right tech. Call 877-BUY-DELL. That's an easy call to make at 877-BUY-DELL or visit Dell.com/smallbusiness.
This is a Steckline Communication Station, K273CX, FM 102.5, and AM 1480 KQAM, Wichita Proud. It's time for your latest news from the KQAM News Center, brought to you by Heartland Avionics and JD Aviation, your aircraft maintenance partners at Augusta Municipal Airport. Learn more at iflyaugusta.com.
I'm Stephanie Austin. Progress continues in Wichita. Starting next week, Wichita will close portions of McLean Boulevard for construction related to the new baseball stadium. McLean will be closed to northbound and southbound traffic between Maple and Douglas starting on Monday, and it will remain closed until April of 2020. The Wichita Eagle reports that the city plans show McLean would be narrowed from 4 lanes down to 2 lanes in that area. Wichita State University's Aviation Research Program has landed a $33 million contract for the Army's high-speed missile program. The Wichita Eagle reports the 3-year contract calls for the National Institute of Aviation Research to make the missiles lighter and cheaper while improving performance. Wichita State was previously awarded a 3-year, $23.5 million Air Force contract to develop technology for automated in-service inspection of military aircraft. It's time now to see what's going on in sports. Here's Doug Downs.
The All-Star Game in Major League Baseball happened last night. And for the 7th straight time, the American League won 4-3. Whit Merrifield for the Kansas City Royals did appear in 4 innings. He was 0 for 2 at the plate and had no putouts in center field. Former Kansas State forward Dean Wade has signed a 2-way contract with the Cleveland Cavaliers. The organization announced that yesterday. Wade, who has appeared in 2 different summer leagues for the Cavaliers so far, is one of only 2 players who can receive a 2-way contract at any given time. Wade will get the majority of his playing time with the G League for the Cavaliers. From the KGSO Sports Desk, I'm Doug Downs.
One thing you don't want associated with your harvest this go-around is downtime. MJ's Truck Repair at exit 46 off I-135 in Moundridge can take care of all your harvest-related equipment. Combines, tractors, grain trucks, and carts, all the machinery associated with your successful harvest this year. MJ's Truck Repair of Moundridge has on-the-farm emergency service. Roll your harvest downtime-free with MJ's Truck Repair of Moundridge. 800-835-0069.
It's Mary from Wildwood Cellars. Our pure elderberry concentrate is especially popular this time of the year, and people ask us what makes ours so much better than the rest, and I have to say it's how we make it, so that none of the good properties of the elderberries are ever lost. Nothing is ever dehydrated, and we add nothing to it. No sugars, syrups, alcohols, additives, or preservatives, just pure concentrated elderberry with less than 1 gram of carb or sugar, so you can take it straight or add it to any juice or drink of your choice. Online at wildwoodsellers.com.
It's that time of year when the grill is always the best cooking option, so stop by your favorite Yoder Meats location to pick up some great meat for the grill. Steaks, chops, burgers, brats, marinated chicken, we've got it all, plus a nice variety of specialty items that you won't find anywhere else. Our Yoder Meats bundles and butcher bags are great options for buying in bulk and saving, and for a special treat, how about our homemade cinnamon rolls, cakes, and cookies? Don't forget the snack sticks for a quick bite on the go. Follow us on Facebook for all the latest information and specials. Taste the old-fashioned flavor at Yoder Meats in Yoder and 3 locations in Wichita.
Now back to the KQAM News Desk.
Texas and Louisiana are getting ready for the arrival of what is expected to be the first hurricane of the season. Texas Governor Greg Abbott.
We don't know how severe this is going to be. We don't know where all it will impact. What we do know is this, and that is if you prepare for the very worst, you will be in a situation where you will be able to come out far better in the end.
New Orleans saw severe flooding with another storm system today. The hurricane could hit New Orleans this weekend with as much as 20 more inches of rainfall. U.S. Soccer Federation President Carlos Cordero says female athletes deserve fair and equal pay. Fans of the World Cup champion, U.S. women's national soccer team were chanting equal pay today as Cordero spoke at a celebration for the team in New York. The Dow up about 100 points. I'm Mike Moss.
Market update, Mid-America Ag Network. We're seeing some green on the screen now with corn and Kansas City wheat. July corn is up 1 3/4 at 433.5. September up 3 1/4 at 435 3/4. July KC wheat up 3 1/2 at 444. September up 1 1/4 at 440.5. July soybeans up 9 1/4 at 892. August up 9 at 895. Soybean meal and soybean oil both mostly higher too. August live cattle down 62 at 107.50. August feeders down 57 at 142.30. So we're having some issues with cattle. Each of the later months is down. July hogs up 40 at 71.82. August hogs up 367 at 82.75. So some positives for hogs while we're watching cattle struggle just a little bit. August gold is up $12 and a dime currently at $14.1260. We're seeing mostly plus signs with silver and copper as well. Mixed numbers across the futures markets here on Wednesday. Market update from Mid-America Ag Network.
Your local weather on KQAM, brought to you by Jewelry Savers. Conveniently located off K96 on Greenwich Road. The Kansas trusted jewelry source since 1971. Jewelry Savers.
Here's your latest forecast on the Big Talker, KQAM. Slight chance of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. Mostly sunny otherwise. High today of 92 with some light winds. Partly cloudy tonight, overnight low of 68. Mostly sunny tomorrow with a high of 88. Friday, mostly sunny with a high near 91 and light winds. I'm Rich Summers, and that's your latest forecast on Wichita's big station, the Big Talker, AM 1480 and 102.5 FM KQAM.
At 106, it's currently 85 degrees.
It's news talk on the web, like the KQAM Facebook page today. This is the Big Talker, 1480 AM and 102.5 FM. It's time for Reason.
That's the nature of the beast right now, so let's talk about conservatism, because we can win when we talk about the ideas. And people can't argue with it, because we win on platform when we actually argue the platform, rather than go into these rhetorical bumper sticker type arguments.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
It's been a long time
And welcome into the Voice of Reason. It's hour number 3 of the Voice of Reason, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas, on the Big Talker, 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, KQAM. We are simulcasting all over social media, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, all that good jazz. Make sure to check us out. Watch it live, say hi, call me a jerk, I don't really care. Whatever, it's cool. Haters gonna hate, you know. Welcome in, 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK if you want to join into the program on the Shocker Pulse hotlines. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks again to Judge Kevin Smith coming on the show for the last hour. Really fascinating information when it comes to the foster care issues going on and ways you can become a foster care parent or a family if you choose to do so to help out. And those numbers, like I said, there are very few things that actually scare the crap out of me. Politics, you're just like, But there's two that come right off hand here. Number one, well, three. Number one is when we talk about agricultural issues and the amount of people that are dependent on food and how difficult it is to grow it more and more every single year. That scares the you-know-what out of me, because that's the food at the grocery store that may have a tough time actually being there, depending on how things play out politically, trade-wise, environmentally, and weather-wise, whatever else. That scares me. How many people actually depend on that food? That's a scary thought. Number two is this: how many children are actually needing parents that don't actually have them, and then they go off and, of course, have high rates of incarceration and doing bad things and breaking the law. And it's easy for us to say, hey, just don't break the law, dummy. Don't do it. At the same time, If there's no foundation, then is it really the fault of? And as conservatives that look at the right to life and the abortion issue and us to protect life and to protect the sanctity of life, then that's a long-term battle that continues on. And okay, if those parents, number one, should have been smart and actually done the appropriate thing by not having a child, but the damage is already done, what do we do now? What do we do now? And how do we move forward to make sure that those individuals are taken care of appropriately? So a very fascinating conversation. We appreciate that very much. But now let's go. Oh, by the number 312 is the fear of just being socialist because that's stupid. I mean, it's that simple. Don't be a socialist nation. That's really dumb. And that leads, by the way, to many of the bad things going on in today's society, including the foster care thing and DCF and all the other garbage that's going on, thanks to big government and socialized regulatory issues. So well done on that one. Let's get into a county update. What do you say? And we love having him on the show every Wednesday, wrapping up the Sedgwick County meeting, commission meeting, as they are all wrapped up and done. And the first one to be able to break the news right here on KQAM with Sedgwick County Commissioner Mr. Jim Howell hanging out with us. Jim, what's going on, sir? How you doing today?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you for the chance to be on the radio once again. And we do have a very interesting meeting today. I'll tell you all about it.
You did have an interesting meeting today. And first off, we have to ask, here's the most important question we can ask today. How many really large fireworks did you fire off last week?
It's amazing. I didn't actually send off any at all. In fact, I didn't even watch any. I stayed at home and watched Netflix.
Wow. Well, hey, you know what? Everybody celebrates their own way. That sounds kind of fun, too, kind of relaxed and just kind of kick back.
It was comforting to the dog and the cat, and really it's kind of a in terms of exercising freedom. I don't get to sit home and watch TV very often, so it's kind of fun, and I really enjoyed myself.
Yeah, I like it. Well, good. I'm glad you got to do that. So the holiday all done, waving the flag. The patriotism continues on, but the celebration of the actual holiday is over. This is a rough week because we're back into a full week after the holiday thing, so now we're trying to get into the gear. But you guys hit it off with a whammy today. Talk a little bit about the county meeting. What'd you guys work on today?
Well, there's a lot of the basic stuff we do every week. We have appointments and minutes and resolutions or proclamations we read. We did all that today as usual, but today we also had a couple of interesting things that people in the community may remember this from the news overnight and yesterday. Wichita yesterday supported a resolution that provides $100,000 from the city of Wichita to a organization called, get the right name here, it's called the Opportunity Wichita, the funding request for Opportunity Wichita, which is going to develop a legacy master plan, Riverfront Legacy Master Plan. So Wichita has provided, approved $100,000 yesterday, and the total cost of this is $700,000 to do this study. And they came to Sedgwick County today, asking for another $100,000 from the county. So if you're doing the math, that's $500,000 coming from somewhere else. That's the business community. The private sector has provided $500,000, and Wichita is providing $100,000 from their bed tax. In other words, their visitor guest tax, and $100,000 from Sedgwick County, which is. We had a big discussion today whether or not we would use revenues from the casino versus just property tax, which feeds into our economic development fund. It doesn't really matter because this is kind of a shell game.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, if it makes you feel better to think this is money from the casino, that's fine. I would like to think of this as just property tax dollars. But so the county did approve spending $100,000, and I guess the reason I think this is important is this conversation about Century 2 is languishing. It's gone on and on and on. I don't know about you, Andy, but I'm kind of tired of the discussion, and I think the community needs to put this to bed, pick a side, and move forward. And what this is going to do is it's probably going to develop the legacy master plan for the East Bank, which includes discussions and recommendation decisions on Century 2, Convention Center, Performing Arts, and of course a funding stream. If we're going to do something new or different, it's going to require a funding stream. So this is going to come back to us in about 6 months from now with recommendations based on a very democratic meetings where people from the community can participate as much as they want. They can speak, they can vote, they can be heard, and what this community wants will drive those decisions on those big decisions, whether we should go for a convention hall or performing arts or whatever. I anticipate that we will see. I'm just going to. You might remember Johnny Carson had the mayonnaise jar, and he pulled the envelope out of the mayonnaise jar under his desk, and he'd predict things. I do predict that we will see a conclusion where there'll be recommendation that we replace Century 2 with another convention center. I don't know what that will look like or how much it will cost, but I anticipate that will probably be where we end up. And I do think that we will see a separate performing arts facility somewhere between Douglas and Kellogg, and between Main Street and the Arkansas River. That's the general location for this legacy master plan. And of course, then would be paid for with sales tax. So to the extent that this is where we may be going, we need people to engage the opportunities to discuss this and to impact those decisions that might be made. I'm just speculating where I think we'll end up. I really don't know.
Sure.
But if we end up in that direction, this is all going to be driven by public input, and ultimately, if it goes to the voters for approval of a sales tax, that's obviously their choice to make as well. And so I'm just kind of sitting back saying, what I really want is I want this to be, number one, I want it to be invested in by the private sector and the business community, and they are up to this point. At least with this study, they will be. And I want this to be voter approved. I want voters to drive the decisions that are made. And to that extent, I don't mind, again, spending this money today just to get this to an end point, because this has gone on and on and on. I'm kind of tired of the discussion, and I think we need to move forward with whatever we're going to do. Let's move forward. And so that's why I think this was important to get this on the agenda today. And it did pass unanimously here at the county. So this is now starting. So by the end of this year, we'll at least know what the plan is.
That's very interesting. Now, we have a lot of, I've noticed this, we have a lot of venues in the area too. I mean, between, the smaller one like the Cotillion to, then we have Interest Bank Arena, then we have Hartman Arena, and we have then, Century 2. So, I mean, there's a lot of different venues in town. And so if we do it, would it be relatively the same size? Would it be a completely different structure? Would it fit kind of the size gap that we're currently missing? What would it potentially look like?
So I think that's a great question, by the way. I actually asked SMG, a director who operates our Interest Bank Arena. I asked him yesterday that very same question. I said, a lot of people might ask, why would you want a performing arts and a convention center and an arena? Why are these different? And he said, well, the performing arts is a stage. It's for the symphony and for plays, and there's large openings for the set to come in and out, and the high ceilings, and the seating is such that the sound travels really well, and so that's a performing arts. But we don't want to have that in the same building as the convention center. Convention center has its own events, and they may actually overlap, or maybe they'll be at the same time. And right now at Century 2, the convention center and performing arts in the same building actually is a problem. They can't do them. You can't do performances in both places at the same time, and trying to get that building to work properly has been a problem in the past. That's what I've been told. And so a convention center primarily is a great big large open space.
Sure.
Imagine without any seats. Just a great big huge building. You bring things in, you set them up, you have unlimited kind of configurations. Whereas the arena is bowl seating. If you think about this, it's good for hockey, it's good for football, it's good for basketball, it's good for rock concerts, it's good for those types of things. But you would never want to use it for convention because the floor actually is quite small.
Right.
And those seats are considered permanent seats, and they don't change. Whereas a convention center is totally configurable. You can change it however you want, but there's not this high seating that goes up into a bowl shape thing. So different types of things. You'll still see rock concerts go to Interest Bank Arena. You'll still see symphonies and theater performances at the Performing Arts building, and you'll see conventions like boat shows and car shows and trade shows, all kinds of convention type things at a convention center. So they are totally separate types of buildings for a reason.
Sure.
The question is, right now we've been trying to use Century 2, and although I love Century 2, I think it's a great building personally, but I understand the arguments against it. So I'd say to the will of the people, let's let the people that own these things, let them decide what we should do. And that's why I think this is a good plan to go out to the people. Let's get to an end point. I'm a little bit tired of the discussion.
Sure.
I want to pick a side and let's see if we're going to go forward or not. And by the way, if we are going to replace Century 2, what's it going to look like? How big is it going to be?
That's
how much
the
is it
question.
going to cost?
Yeah, well, and that's the question I had. How much is it going to cost us? Because I know that something like that is going to cost a hefty amount, I would think, between the style of it, between the size of it, between what it's all going to look like. And I mean, that's going to be a huge issue. And how much are we going to spend on something like this? And is that going to be able to fit in our budget for the county?
Well, it will not fit in an existing budget. This would have to be special revenue. And I'm just being real honest with you. That kind of money does not exist anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Wichita's talking about a new water treatment facility, and you talk to council member Brian Fryer frequently about this. That's going to be, money from water bills to pay for that.
Sure.
On this particular study, they're using guest tax, visitors coming through and pay money for a hotel, some guest taxes collected by local governments, and they're going to use that guest tax to pay for their half of this legacy plan for the East Bank. And so that's how they're going to pay for their part of it. For us, we don't have a guest tax.
Sure.
We do have casino revenue, but casino revenue is really dedicated towards substance abuse treatments, gambling treatments, mental health, social programs that helps the people who are more needy in our community. There's all kinds of programs that we provide to help out people in our community. And that money's all earmarked. It's not like it's available to be used for something new.
Sure.
And so whatever we do on whether if the government's going to do something like this, I anticipate there'll be a lot more private capital as part of this discussion. I don't, Omaha, if you haven't heard the story, Omaha did over $1 billion in different CIP projects, capital improvement projects, but about 60% of that was done by the private sector.
Sure.
Partnering with government. So I anticipate a new model where some of the money will come from sales tax, potentially. Some of the money will come from the private sector. And that's a better model of public-private partnership. But, of course, the people need to have a right to vote on this. And if it's going to go forward, the people have to vote. And so I'm going to be a predictor that I think that by the end of this year you'll see a plan come forward. As I predict, I think it's probably going to be a convention center, a new performing arts in a different location. I should say within that square, within that rectangle I mentioned a minute ago. But new facilities and sales tax probably to fund the government side of this equation. And the voter approved. If voters want it, it goes forward. If voters say no, it goes away. And
well, I'm
we'll
really
see what
glad.
happens.
I'm really glad we're working on this because I've been working on my stand-up comedy routine, and I really need a large venue to make this happen.
Well, you might have a place to go then.
There we go. I love it. We got just a couple of minutes left until we wrap up here. But Sedgwick County Commissioner Jim Howell, I know that was, of course, one of the major issues on there. Real quickly, in a minute or two, any other hot topical issues, or was that the main focus today?
Well, that was one of the main focuses, but Commissioner O'Donnell did raise an off-agenda item, as I did in the special meeting last week, or should I say 2 weeks ago, and in the BOCC meeting the week before that. I did off-agenda stuff. We have tried repeatedly trying to find a little bit of money to help dewater, I should say pull some water out of the ground around these homes down south where the Derby water wells were shut off in the about the middle of 2000s. Those water wells were shut down. Since then, the water table has risen. It depends on who you ask and what time of year you check, but water table's gone up about 15 feet. I'll just say it that way. And there's been a lot of groundwater going into people's basements. I don't mean just a few homes. I mean hundreds of homes. Mm-hmm. And probably 1,000 or more people down there are suffering. And there's really no way to get rid of that water. I mean, there are some things they can do. They can fill in their basements.
Sure.
Is a temporary short-term relief. We're talking about potentially turning on a couple of these water wells that Derby owns, and we'll pay for the electricity to do that. And that would lower the water table just a little bit. It's not a good long-term solution. In fact, it's a terrible thing to do, to take water out of the ground and dump it in the river. But it helps these homes hopefully dry up a little bit, and that's the intent of that discussion. And obviously we need to have a long-term solution, and the long-term solution could be anything from filling in basements to helping the ditches move water better so it doesn't soak in as much, to French drains around each different home, reassessing property values, trying to lower the taxes a little bit for these homes that are being directly impacted. And probably the most elegant solution might be that people would that the communities would potentially use that 700 million gallons a month that Derby used to use, turn that back into municipal water supply for Hayesville, Mulvane, Derby, Wichita, so that some of that water would be utilized, and that would lower the water table just simply through usage.
Sure.
And that's the best plan. But that would also require a $50 million or approximately that number water treatment facility to make that water usable for today's standards. And so very expensive, but that would be a very nice, elegant solution. But we need to talk about all these things. And so next month, August the 8th, at the Hayesville Middle School, from I believe 6 to 8 p.m. I believe there's going to be a community meeting on these discussions about how to solve this long-term, how to create a long-term solution, and that will be discussed next month on August the 8th. And so we're just now putting that together, and there'll be more information about that when we get a little bit closer to the meeting.
Things happening in Sedgwick County. It's happening quite drastically and fastly as well. In about 30 seconds, I know as you guys are getting closer and closer to the budgetary finalization stuff for the end of the fiscal year, how is the budget looking right now as you guys continue to discuss that?
Well, that's really great. We were just on the brink of getting that in our fingertips. I know that the manager has worked very hard over the last several months to put together a recommended budget. It'll be a balanced budget, of course, as it comes to us, but I think we'll probably want to make some tweaks, cut some spending here and add some spending there. So the commissioners are going to get their hands on that budget literally in the next few days, and then of course, the public hearings will start to happen. Then right out a month from today, I think August the 8th, I believe, is our date of adoption. So we've got about 4 weeks to have these public hearings and to make adjustments to the budget as needed. And then we have to adopt that budget by state law first part of August. And so we've got about a month to get that done. So you're going to see a lot of stories, a lot of discussion on the budget here in the next few weeks.
Good.
But to be totally honest with you, it's not in my hands just yet.
Not yet.
By this time next week, I'll have it. I'll have it next week, so we'll talk about the details.
Hey, very good. I love it. Sedgwick County Commissioner Jim Howell, always a pleasure, my friend. We love chatting with you. Have fun this week and get ready for that fun budget thing next week. We'll chat again next Wednesday. How's that?
Sounds great, Andy. Thank you. Have a tremendous day.
You as well. Always a pleasure, my friend. We'll take a break here, 25 minutes past the hour. Open line to you as we wrap up the show today on a Wednesday here on The Voice of Reason. Stay tuned.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Do you think your home might look a little better with a few marble columns? Or maybe with a room paneled in exotic wood? Like, say, burl wood or Malaysian teak? While this certainly sounds good, you're probably thinking, yeah, if I win the lottery. Granted, things like this are indeed expensive. Unless you know the secret of fee-fi-fo finishes. Sorry for sounding a bit melodramatic. But hey, these painted lookalikes are dramatic. And inexpensive, because they're all done with only paint. These illusions created by old age techniques of wood graining, marbling, glazing, daubing, and sponging have been handed down from generation to generation of fine furniture craftsmen and highly artistic interior decorators. And today, these same techniques are being made available in magazine articles, books, and on the internet. And through ingenious paint products that create special effects. So, check your local library, fire up your computer, and visit your local hardware store for ideas. Who knows? You just might be the Michelangelo of Y2K. For more tips, visit our website at onthehouse.com. Extra, extra, read all about it! The brand new edition of Home Maintenance for Dummies is hot off the presses. This new edition features the latest tips on how to tune up your home and make repairs to every part of your house, from the basement to the attic. By combining step-by-step instructions and expert information, you'll learn how to conduct routine inspections, keep major systems running smoothly, and increase energy efficiency. Home Maintenance for Dummies 2nd edition, written by us, the Carey Brothers, can be found at bookstores everywhere. Home Maintenance for Dummies 2nd edition. Look for it today and get started maintaining your home tomorrow.
It's a new era of NASCAR excitement.
Chase Elliott, your leader, Joey Logano, right on the back bumper.
The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series.
Eric Jones able to break away by a car length and a half.
Featuring the world's best drivers.
Kevin Harvick still trying to catch Jimmy Johnson.
Fighting for the biggest prize in racing.
And he is your champ.
The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series on the Motor Racing Network.
NASCAR on KQAM. Brought to you by Burwell Construction.
Summertime, and the kids are home wreaking havoc on the house. Sweet little mess makers, but I just can't keep up. It's enough to keep it picked up. No time for deep cleaning. That's why I have the maids clean my house every other week. So I have more time with my family, for me, and my house is cleaned by professionals. Go to themaidswichita.com and tour their 22-step Healthy Touch system. Then call the Maids for a free estimate at 832-9058.
I've got better things to do.
832-9058.
When your car starts giving you fits, do what I do. Depend on AutoSmart to take care of it. They'll take care of it in a professional and timely manner, and it'll be done right the first time. If your engine or tranny is about to shoot craps, don't go looking at new cars. See Scott about a Jasper remanufactured engine or transmission. Jasper is one of the most trusted names in the industry, and they're still the home of the $99 brake job. AutoSmart, 5751 West Central, proud supporters of the Kansas Honor Flight.
At Walgreens, we know that your day doesn't stop for diabetes. So when you've got places to go and people to see, count on Walgreens every day to get expert diabetes advice 24/7. Find all major brands of testing supplies like Walgreens True Metrics in-store and online. And download tools to help you stay on track, like our 5-star mobile app with Pill Reminder. At Walgreens, we are your diabetes go-to. Stop by and talk to your pharmacist today. Walgreens, trusted since 1901.
Morning news with Rick Everett, here on the Big Talker, 1480 AM and 102.5 FM KQAM.
All right, bottom of the hour news coming up in just a second here. Thanks again to Jim Howell, Sedgwick County Commissioner, joining the program as he does every Wednesday. Big stuff going on in the county, the city right now. That's why the local politics, baby, it's so important to be engaged, to understand what's going on, and for us to be engaged in the sense of not only understanding the issues, but understanding candidates as well. And as you know, there's some really important elections coming up this fall that's going to lead into the super important elections next fall. So, you know what? It's election season. Get your civic duty card ready, baby, because we're going to make it all happen, and we're going to start it right here on the show. We'll take a break. Bottom of the hour news. When we come back, we'll shift gears, get back into some of the topical issues of the day, some candidates running for election here in Kansas going into next year, along with the courts deciding very super important issues in the nation that we should be focused on. We'll do that when we come back. Stay here.
Here's the latest from the KQAM News Center.
Any moment now, Labor Secretary Alex Acosta is expected to try to explain his role a decade ago in a non-prosecution agreement that kept billionaire Jeffrey Epstein from serving prison time on sex charges. Abby Phillips is at the White House.
The pressure is building on the White House. It's building on Alex Acosta. They're doing something that, frankly, they don't do very often, getting before the cameras, holding some kind of availability. We don't know yet if he will take questions, but it's going to be a key moment for him.
4 bronze spires that will make up part of a memorial to the victims of the Boston Marathon bombings have been put in place today near the finish line. The attack killed 3 and wounded 260 others. The U.S. women's national soccer team got a ticker tape parade in New York City today after winning the Women's World Cup. The head of the U.S. Soccer Federation pledged today to bring pay parity for U.S. women athletes. I'm Mike Moss.
Does your dog itch, scratch, stink, or shed like crazy? Come to Dynavite for help.
Order a 90-day supply of Dynavite.
Everything we tried failed except the Dynavite.
Pick up 2 bottles of Super Mega Fish Oil.
Get the 3rd bottle free. Packed with omega-3, DHA, and EPA fatty acids.
Super Mega is great for your dog's immune system, healthy skin, and soft, shiny fur.
Dogs love it. Try Super Omega Fish Oil.
Buy 2, get 1 free.
At Dynavite.com.
DINOVITE.com.
You make a million tough business decisions every day. So here's the easiest one of the year. Dell's Black Friday in July is back and bigger than ever. Get no-brainer deals on the very latest computers with Intel Core processors and a huge selection of servers, electronics, and more. All with free shipping on everything. To make your decision even easier, Dell's Small Business Technology Advisors can help you find just the right tech. Call 877-BUY-DELL. That's an easy call to make at 877-BUY-DELL or visit Dell.com/smallbusiness.
Of the Mid-America Network News. A Kansas Supreme Court justice whose votes in death penalty cases made him a political target plans to retire from the bench September 8th. The decision announced today by Justice Lee Johnson will give Democratic Governor Laura Kelly her first appointment to the 7-member High Court. It will not require Kansas Senate confirmation. Johnson was appointed to the Supreme Court in 2007 by Democratic Governor Kathleen Sebelius. He and other justices drew criticism for overturning death sentences in several capital murder cases. The Garden City Police Department is warning people about a couple selling fake gold jewelry. KWCH reports police say the man and woman have 3 young boys with them. The pair is approaching residents in the parking lots of local businesses saying the jewelry is authentic gold. Police believe the suspects are driving a black Cadillac Escalade with a Texas tag and or a white minivan or SUV. Anyone with information should call the Garden City Police. I'm Stephanie Austin.
Over 340 years of roofing experience, and that's just the management and estimating team. It's no wonder Ray Roofing is one of the most successful roofing companies in Kansas. As a 6th-generation family-owned business, Ray Roofing specializes in built-up, modified, cold-applied, EPDM, TPO, and tapered roofing systems. Whether the structure roof is commercial, sheet metal, or flat residential, Ray Roofing was founded on the belief that a roof is only as good as the roofer applying it. Ray Roofing, online at WRAYroofing.com.
This moment of peacefulness is brought to you by Rusty Eck Ford.
Price sells cars at Rusty Eck Ford. Now at Rusty Eck, you can get a discount of $2,000 off every Ford F-150 in stock, and you keep the rebates up to over $6,200. That's over $8,200 in discounts and rebates. Plus, we'll throw in a new Green Mountain Grill with built-in Wi-Fi when you buy.
Save thousands on an F-150 and get a Green Mountain Grill? You bet. Your choice of a Davy Crockett smoker or a Daniel Boone smoker for your summer fun. And don't forget about our award-winning service. See what's going on at rustyeckford.com.
All rebates to dealer cannot be combined, plus tax and fees. Discounts from MSRP offer expires 7/30/19.
Here's your latest forecast on the Big Talker, KQAM. Slight chance of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. Mostly sunny otherwise. High today of 92 with some light winds. Partly cloudy tonight, overnight low of 68. Mostly sunny tomorrow with a high of 88. Friday, mostly sunny with a high near 91 and light winds. I'm Rich Summers, and that's your latest forecast on Wichita's big station, the Big Talker, AM 1480 and 102.5 FM, KQAM.
At 1:35, it's currently 88 degrees.
Travel the world with the Carries. Sundays at 10 on the Big Talker, 1480 AM and 102.5 FM, KQAM. Home for entertaining radio.
This is your fault, too, man. I keep missing Rush Limbaugh's morning update every morning because I'm listening to your show.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
This is the Voice of Reason. A welcome in, wrapping up the show today, 35 minutes past the hour. Great to have you for the ride today on a Wednesday, halfway through the week. The lights at the end of the tunnel, all that good jazz. This half hour of the broadcast is brought to you by Wildwood Cellars. It's more than just buying that bottle of wine, but you can learn about the tips and tricks for you to find the wine that you like, not the wine you're supposed to like. There is a difference there. It's okay to like the sweet things or the dry things or the sangrias or the jalapeno wines or the peach wine or the strawberry wine or the chocolate wine or whatever else you like, or the meads. Hello? If you want to drink healthy stuff, you can drink me because it's made with honey instead of real sugar. And then you get like the elderberry, and then it's even better. And, you know, elderberry mead right there. Boom, baby. That's a night by itself. Not that you should do that whole thing, but nonetheless, but it's so good that you can't stop. I'm just saying. Wildwood Cellars, nationally acclaimed vineyards. They're right here in Kansas. Support local, baby. They also have liquor stores all over the area that pick up their products, but you can find them off the Turnpike in Mulvane for their main headquarters, also right here in Wichita at Maple and Ridge. Online at wildwoodsellars.com, wildwoodsellars.com. And oh, by the way, if you're listening outside of the state, as we do, obviously on social media and online and tune in and all that jazz, broadcasts all over the country and all over the world, really, they do ship things to you even outside of the state. Wink, wink, hint, hint. So therefore, go and check it out, man. Wildwoodsellars.com. Again, wildwoodsellars.com. Make sure to check them out, and we appreciate them partnering up with us here on The Voice of Reason each and every day. Open lines to you at 316-721-8255. I want to take some phone calls here. Also, the courts are making like really awesome judgments and decisions and opinions on certain really awesome things. And we'll see what those are. Plus, there's some big news. You know what? Let's do this real quick. Breaking news. If you're on the line here, hang tight. We got some calls on here. Hang tight. There's some breaking news going on right now. And this really did come out a couple hours ago, but we haven't had a chance to talk about it because the other breaking news of the day was the fact that the Attorney General has, for the state of Kansas, Derek Schmidt, has sent a letter and hand-delivered it to her office to the Governor Laura Kelly, saying that she's not allowed to extend the benefits for the food stamp program here in the state because it specifically violates the 2015 HOPE Act that was signed by the legislature, signed by the governor, approved, passed on, and she tried to use that awesome executive power, saying that she was going to reverse that and extend it, and the Attorney General said, that ain't going to fly. We had Dan Hawkins, House Majority Leader, on the show in the first hour, and said, yeah, no, they've been working on this for a while. But I love it because the media just now picked it up, and they have a picture of Governor Kelly on the Kansas City's website, kansascity.com, the Kansas City Star, and they found like the grumpiest looking photo of her. I love it. The media turning on the other side of the aisle. Oh, man. So there is that. But the other big news that's breaking as of lately, the last couple hours as well, is the fact that the 12-year serving Supreme Court Justice Lee Johnson from the Kansas Supreme Court has announced that he will officially retire from the Kansas Supreme Court as of September 8th, which means that gives Governor Laura Kelly a nomination to the Kansas Supreme Court. Now, that is dangerous. At the same time, I'm almost looking forward to it for this reason. Now, here's the crazy part. This individual was nominated by Kathleen Sebelius and put on the courts. Now stepping down, now Governor Laura Kelly, the prodigy of Kathleen Sebelius, gets to replace that. That's a little troublesome. Here's the good news, is that we do have the legislature that is working on, in the 2020 legislative session, a constitutional amendment that would allow the Senate to actually have oversight of Supreme Court nominees. So I really wish this guy would have actually held out a little bit longer, because what happens is they vote on it in the legislature, then it gets on the ballot for us next November, but by that time we could already have a new nominee on there. So he probably saw this coming and announced early, so that way Governor Kelly gets a nomination on the courts before they get that oversight, because they don't want oversight. So I take back my excitement. The excitement is the fact that we actually get to hopefully reinforce the idea that we need to have some type of Senate oversight like we do, I don't know, at the national level, where we get to pick it, the governor gets to pick, and then they go through the interview process with the Senate. And with the Senate in the state of Kansas being relatively Republican and conservative, then a crazy left, wild Supreme Court justice would not probably go through. Would not actually happen. So we actually get, a little more oversight, which is not what we're getting right now in the state of Kansas. So this justice, the politics being played right now, had the mindset, what it sounds like, wanting to announce a retirement at some point, and seems to push the ante up just a little bit further, or a little bit ahead here, so that way they can get the nominee in before we get that constitutional amendment to you and I. And I'm assuming that would go through relatively easy next year if we end up voting on something like that next November, saying that the Kansas Senate should have oversight to Supreme Court nominees, but they don't want that, so they're going to try and ram one through now, so that's one less that we get to choose in the immediate situation. So that's the big news. I want to talk a little bit deeper into that here in just a minute, because that is big news, and that could really change the state of Kansas if we end up getting that constitutional amendment through. But it's not going to really necessarily help with this nominee if we end up getting someone quick, because right now, how's the way it works is that the Bar Association, as you know, nominates out of certain candidates, nominates 3 candidates. The governor then gets to choose one of those 3, and then that is now our Supreme Court justice, which means we only have the oversight of one level by the governor, and the governor didn't get to choose on who actually is going to be that nominee. She gets handed option A, B, and C that we have no control over unless you're part of the Bar Association. And that's not the way to properly nominate a Supreme Court justice. So we should have, like what we do in the country, the rest of the place, is have the governor choose anybody she chooses, and then the Senate, another branch of the government with our 3 branches of government, gets to choose out of that nominee through an interview process and a vote on whether they're going to sit on the 3rd branch of our government. That's the way checks and balances work in normal places. Here in crazy land called Kansas, we don't do that, because we think the governor should have all that power based on limited options from an organization that has no oversight, and we have no choice on actually who they get to choose. So there's that process. 316-721-8255. Let's go to the phone calls here. It's open lines for the last half hour. Line number 1. Good afternoon. Who's this?
This is Eddie.
Eddie, how are you, sir?
I'm fine. You think Kansas is crazy. Well, what about Minnesota? There's a town up there, there's a city up there that on their city council meeting, they are not allowed to have an American flag in the building, and they are not allowed to have the Pledge of Allegiance because they consider it too offensive.
That is true, and I believe, I don't know if it's the same town or not, but I think it's the same state where they're not even allowed to say a prayer because that's offensive. However, the Satanic organization said that they are allowed to say a satanic prayer, or at least include that in there, so that way everything's fair and we have a balanced belief on whoever's in that city council meeting.
But, Andy, if you're a city council member, and how can you not want the American flag at your council meeting? And why do you not want to have the Pledge of Allegiance? I mean, are we just going to sit back and just totally turn our country over to whoever and whatever?
The answer is if we continue. Well, yeah, the answer is if we continue to do what we're doing, then yes, because that's exactly what we are doing. We, and I've talked about this before, as you know, last week, is that the whole pride thing that we have and the whole bond that we have of saying we can disagree on whatever we want to, but we can find unity under the fact that we're all Americans and we can hold the flag and show that that's the symbol of representing all of us as an American flag and that tribute to the United States. We no longer have that because that itself is controversial, so therefore we have nothing that's molding us together, nothing that's binding us together, and now it's cool for us to actually trash the nation, which is what we saw with the soccer, the Women's Soccer League, and them trashing the United States, throwing the flag on the ground when they won the World Cup. They had the parade today, and the, what's her name, Rapinoe or whatever her name is, that came out and spoke. She said that pretty much she hates the country. She would go to Washington, D.C. if Nancy Pelosi or Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez invited her because she wants to dialogue, but she will not go if Donald Trump invites her, and she will not go to the White House. So we are now embracing partisanship. We are embracing hatred, anger, and division, and the one thing that unites us we're no longer allowed to uphold because that is controversial.
Well, you know, she's an old lesbian old gal, you know, and she hates Americans. She hates everything concerning the United States. But anyway, I will say this, that you know, throw these people out of office. I mean, my God, Andy, that is just, it's gone too far, and I'll tell you what, I don't know. I don't want to say too much, but
well, it borders treason. I mean, look, if you are an elected official, it's different from a general public individual who just hates it. And like we have even, by the way, a couple individuals running for like city council or mayor that like don't even stand for the Pledge of Allegiance at city council meetings and stuff. I mean, that's different because you're a private citizen. But as an elected official who swore to uphold the Constitution of the United States to represent people in the public sector of our governmental entities here in the United States, you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. You have the American flag there because that's what you're representing when you're an elected official that people actually voted in to represent you as.
Yes. Hey, just a side note. I saw the county commission meeting today, and Jim Howe, I'm going to give him credit for standing up for the people whose basements are flooded down in South, down there in his district.
Mm-hmm.
He tried his best, and we need to do something. The county needs to do something. But and another thing, that woman up there, she whined and cried because she wanted to know why there weren't more women appointed to committees. And
yeah.
So, and she said that she's no longer, in so many words, she said, I guess she wasn't going to support any more males being appointed to committees.
Well, of course not. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the ones that are about inclusion and about acceptance and about not looking at divisions and hatred and just want to love everybody, we need to look at you, and we're not going to support you if you're a guy and a dude that has male genitalia. We're not going to support you if you're white. We're not going to support you if you're conservative. I mean, we don't like you if you are inclusive in the sense that you are probably part of the LGBTQ community, you're some form of minority, and at least you're not a white dude, then we're okay. And then you're inclusive into us and we're tolerant of you, but anyone else, then you can go to hell because we don't like you.
Well, anyway, I just want to take my hat off to Jim Howe because he has a pure good heart, and I deeply appreciate that.
Hey, amen to that.
Anyway,
I love it. No, Eddie, I appreciate the call very much, my friend. You're spot on, and that's the word that it's so frustrating, and I'm tired of being angry about it because that's just the way it is. People are nuts, and they don't see. And when you try and say, "Hey, let's be inclusive. Let's not talk about race or gender or skin color or lifestyle choices," then no, you're just trying to ignore the issues. So I'll talk about the issues, like the Kansas Supreme Court, like what we have with the food stamps here in the state of Kansas, which I cannot wait to see what happens the next couple of days. My prediction is Governor Kelly will not back down. She will try and fight it. That's her own personal vendetta. The fact that that's what she tried to use an executive order against at the exact same piece of legislation that she tried to amend when it was happening in 2015, and she led the movement to try and get that out of the bill. I don't think she's going to back down right now. She's angry. She doesn't quite know how to figure this whole governor thing out because she still thinks she's a senator. She's using the executive power against what normal people usually do, and she's not going to back down. So she's going to try and take this to court, and then we get to see the potential liberal courts try and side with her. And she thinks that she's going to be able to load up the courts with the progressives with that agenda to say, well, the law does say it, but you do have the jurisdiction to bend the rules a little bit because you are governor. And she's banking on that. My prediction, this goes to court when it comes to expanding the food stamp program to people outside of the requirements from the HOPE Act that limited the amount of time and who can actually receive the benefits of food stamps here in the state of Kansas. I don't know. I think she's going to go after it. She's going to try and pursue it as long as she possibly can. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. We have some work to do in the state of Kansas when it comes to the constitutional amendments for obviously education, when it comes to the Supreme Court and the oversight with the Senate. I would love for us to hold off, and maybe the legislature can do something about this. I doubt that we'll get a nominee before the July or the January session, because if he retires on September 8th, Justice Lee Johnson, and then the governor gets some choices and the Bar Association ends up trying to pick somebody, I see them having a nominee by the beginning of the year. I would really love to see the legislature say, hold on, you're not allowed to do this. We're not going to move forward with this, or we're going to block you until we vote on whether the constitutional amendment will happen or not. And then if it does and it passes, then you can't do it until we actually vote on it in November to see if the people actually want that or not. I see, hopefully, if the legislature actually has some backbone and they stand up to the governor and to the Supreme Court, I'd love to see them try and stall it until we actually get a say, because if that's the case, and if that's what we want, then that means the process that they're going to try and ram through is against the will of the people. If the legislature votes on it to put it on the ballot and the Kansas people actually vote it and approve it, that means that's what we want to happen, and they're trying to skate through before that happens. So I'm kind of curious to see how fast they're going to try and move forward with the replacement of Justice Lee Johnson, and I'd love to see the Kansas legislature actually try and stall this nomination process to replace him until after the vote happens. If it fails, then fine, do your thing. But if it goes through, then that means they want it. And if it goes on the ballot, that means that we need to wait to see what the people want. And if the people want it, and you try and ram it through, then you've essentially gone against the will of the people. Put it on the ballot, see what the people want in Kansas, and then we can make our decision on who's going to have that nomination. I know your tricks. I know your politics. I know what you're trying to do. And you're trying to ram somebody through and get a new replacement before we actually go through, because you're scared this might actually happen, and you don't want to lose that authoritarian power from the Bar Association and from the governor and very minimal oversight on who those candidates are, because you stack the courts in Kansas with liberal progressive values, people that want special interests, especially on education, who have made terrible, horrible decisions because they have very bad reputations. And we need to start cleaning it up, and you're afraid of actually losing that power and that grip on the Kansas Supreme Court, and therefore you're going to try and load it before the change actually happens. I know your game. I know what you're trying to do, and we're not going to allow it to happen. So legislature, perk up your ears a little bit. It's time for you to start working on a blockage from them not allowing to fill that vacancy until we vote on it and see what you want as the legislature and what the people of Kansas actually want to move forward with the process on our Kansas Supreme Court. I think that's the appropriate response. We'll see if that actually happens or not. On the other hand, we haven't been able to stop them from spending more money on education in the last few years either, so there is that. Gotta take a break. 8 minutes to the top of the hour. Stay here.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Mixed in the livestock, higher in the grains. That's the way we're wrapping up midweek Wednesday. Let's check the ag futures markets. Brett Krotz at Schwieterman Incorporated is here with the information. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Well, we ended up seeing just a little bit of pressure in the cattle market. The August live down 50 at 107.62. October down 32 at 108.97. In the feeder cattle, August down 52 at 142.35. October down 20 at 142.82. In the hog market, we saw some follow-through buying there with the July contract up 37 at 71.75. October up 225 at 73.25. Over in the grain markets, we had some two-sided trade today and ended up on the positive side. September Kansas City wheat up 2 1/4 at 441.5. December up 1.5 pennies at 462.5. In Chicago, the September wheat up 2 cents at 504 3/4. December up 1.25 pennies at 516 3/4. September corn up 2 1/2 at 435. December up 2 1/4 at 439.5. September soybeans 8 1/2 higher at $9.25. November up 8 1/2 at $9.12 3/4, and then December oats down 1/2 cent at 275.5. December cotton 64 points higher at 63.92. August crude oil up 257 at 60.39. August natural gas up 1 penny at 2.44. We've got the August gold up 16.10 at 14.1660. December silver up a dime at 15.37. The September dollar index 36 points lower at 96.43, and the September Dow Jones futures up 86 points at 26,865. And for information on these and the other markets, please call us at Schwieterman Incorporated.
When you miss the morning news with John Wright.
Recently, a National Historic Site for Wichita firefighters in Wichita was ripped off by thieves. Wichita State University's National Institute for Aviation Research announced a second multi-million-dollar deal Tuesday, and a woman who dragged a Sedgwick County Sheriff's deputy last month has been arrested.
Your morning news with John Wright, 6 to 8 on the Big Talker, 1480 AM and 102.5 FM, KQAM.
Are you looking to conserve water and have a beautiful lawn? This summer, convert your lawn to a warm season turf grass such as barefoot buffalo grass or Monaco Bermuda grass. Once established, these drought-tolerant grasses provide a low-maintenance lawn and will save you time and money. Contact Starseed today to learn more about our 2019 lawn and turf varieties. Call 800-782-7311 or visit our website at gostarseed.com.
At Walgreens, we know that your day doesn't stop for diabetes. So when you've got places to go and people to see, count on Walgreens every day to get expert diabetes advice 24/7. Find all major brands of testing supplies like Walgreens True Metrics in-store and online. And download tools to help you stay on track, like our 5-star mobile app with Pill Reminder. At Walgreens, we are your diabetes go-to. Stop by and talk to your pharmacist today. Walgreens, trusted since 1901.
Men and women, the sun does not discriminate, and that's why Hatman Jacks has sun protection for everybody. Without sun protection, you put your skin at risk, whether it's mowing, at the pool, golf, working in the garden, or fishing. Hatman Jacks reminds you when it comes to any outdoor activity, there's a hat for that, whether it's a tilly, a garden straw, fishing hats, and for summer style, dress it up with a straw fedora. Take care with sun protection from Hatman Jacks at the Clock Tower in Delano.
Hi, everybody. This is Brian Kilmeade. Join me live weekdays at 8 a.m. right here on the Big Talker, 1480 a.m. and 102.5 FM, KQAM.
4 minutes to the top of the hour. Wrapping it up. Let's wrap this up with some phone calls. What do you say? 316-721-8255. Having more fun each and every day here on The Voice of Reason. Thanks again for hanging out with us as you do, no matter how you may be listening. Let's go to it here. Line number 1. Good afternoon. Who's this?
Hi, Andy. This is Helen.
Helen, how are you?
I'm doing just great. Well, we need to get back to the Constitution when it comes to these judges. It says in Article 3, Section 1, the judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. It's not anybody else. It's the Congress. So we need to get back to the Constitution and not have these
Well, that is true.
runaway judges.
Well, that is true. Now, that's the federal level. The states do have different constitutional laws and ways that the states can actually operate. But you're right, the federal level, and that's why we love the federal process and how the president can nominate somebody, the Senate interviews them and votes on them, and then we put them on the Supreme Court. That's a proper checks and balance system of all three branches of government. Unfortunately, states can do it their own ways that they want to, and most states do it that way as well, but there are states like us that choose to do it a little bit different way for different reasons. We got about 45 seconds left. Let's sneak in one more here, shall we? Line number 2. Good afternoon. Who's this?
Hey, it's Lee. How's it going?
I am great, Lee. What's going on, brother?
Not too much. Hey, I just wanted to ask if you would be in such a hurry to change the Constitution about the Supreme Court, the state Supreme Court, if Brownback was still in office or if Kobach had gotten elected, or is this just a partisan political thing?
I've been wanting this to happen since the time I found out about it 4 years ago when I moved to Kansas.
Okay.
Yeah,
fair enough.
I've wanted that. I think that the system we do at the federal level with the checks and balance from all three branches, the president nominating, the Senate voting and interviewing, I think is the best way to go. I think we have very little oversight in Kansas, and I've been wanting to change that since I've heard about the process we do here. I do not like our system here, regardless of who's governor.
Fair enough, but you really think it's the right thing to just sit on a nominee for another year just to keep the current governor from being able to appoint who she wants, kind of like what Mitch McConnell did?
Yeah, well, I think, and I'm out of time here, but yes, I think that if the will of the people are wanting that and we vote on it, then we should abide by that. Appreciate the call.
Scott Child's Old Time Clock Shop, 1946 West 13th Street in the heart of Riverside. It's not just a name of a shop. Scott Child started the shop back in 1974. He has perhaps the best inventory of all kinds of clocks that he's ever had in his business. That means great selection for you. If you've never checked it out, you owe it to yourself. Scott Child's Old Time Clock Shop.
Walking. We take it for granted until pain curbs your active lifestyle. Unique Feet's board-certified podorthist, John Galbraith, can help you get back in step.
When you go into a podorthic facility, we're kind of like a pharmacy for prescription shoes and inserts and that sort of thing. With diabetes or neuropathy, these people have exquisite pain. Oftentimes, the insert and shoe modification helps ease